Malcolm Butler vibes. What a start to the 3 new eras of 3 big Florida college football programs.
Where did I read? Is it like, I don't know if it was November of 19 or November of 20, the last time that all one weekend?
How about Old Dominion, man?
got my got my pick started.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fluky things go wrong this week, but it's all for fun.
Did you guys see the crowd at the UCLA game?
I did not.
Yes,
It's rough. So bad.
there. It was a Marlins Tuesday night crowd.
Wow.
Exactly.
They listed 27,000. It was probably 7,000, but it was 100 degrees, and they were playing a MAC school. And folks said, "No, I'm good. We'll go to the beach."
How was the tournament? Paul, what tournament do you speak of?
Oh, are we live?
On Twitch? You have me mistaken with somebody that was at a tournament.
Yeah. You didn't play, did you? Did you play in a tournament?
No. I didn't do anything all weekend.
Shout out Francis TFO. Damn.
If anybody cares, it's been a hell of a tournament.
Oh, yeah. It really has.
And the crowds have been raucous.
Mm-hmm. I watched Alcaraz last night. Alcaraz. 15 seconds. Let's do this.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you. Hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? And the football season is underway in a big way. Thanks for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. First off, Mark, how the heck are you?
I'm doing great, David. Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. If you're a sports fan, what has taken place these last 72 hours and change, I mean, it just, even if you're tired, even if you were busy this weekend, I would think it would just give you a little energy, a little jolt, all right, so that you even feel good or better. That's how I feel, Mark.
Right on. Right on. A little energy there. I feel like I wanted to brace myself for getting tackled after that.
I am. I'm doing this show in a 3-point stance. All right. I'm just ready to go. I may jump the gun. I may commit a couple procedure penalties, but just let everybody know that, we're going full contact, full pads, maybe even 2-a-days. I mean, that's how fired up I am. Because, Mark, I billed the start of the college football season for a month as a 5-day extravaganza. And I may have undersold it. That's all I'm saying. I may have undersold it.
I don't know. It was an extravaganza. I don't know if it got much bigger than that, because can it get bigger than an extravaganza, David, for 5 days? It was glorious from the word go. It started on Thursday. It was terrific, and it worked right on through the weekend with great football. I mean, even last night, it took Clemson all the way till late in the game to pull away from Georgia Tech. Before that one was, I don't know if it was ever really out of doubt or in doubt, but it took a while for Clemson to even pull away from the Ramblin' Wreck last night.
Our poll question on Friday was, the Gators and the Noles are both 3-point dogs. Who's got the best chance to win? Gators, Noles, both, neither. How many of you voted both? Huh? And the funny thing is, for those that picked the Gators, well, I mean, you weren't wrong. For those that picked the Noles, I mean, you weren't wrong. So how about that? The big three winning, that's something that we can't take for granted lately. Put it that way. With as much as, Miami, kind of in mediocre land and then rising up now, so we think, and Florida State striving to reach mediocrity, and then the start of this season, and of course last year with the Gators went so badly. I mean, I think it had been a while, Mark. I think it had been at least 2 years since all three won on the same weekend.
And boy, did they ever. And, it's tough to say. I mean, the Gators won against a better team, but each, the Gators and Noles, equally is just glorious in their wins to give fan bases such excitement. But the Gators and Richardson, we'd said all along, like, you and I both liked Utah, but we said the X factor was Richardson. He was sensational. He's a special football player, and he exceeded what I thought he could do in that game. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was the reason that they won. He had to be the reason that they were going to win, and he delivered time and time again in that game.
And it really does show you the difference that a quarterback can make. I mean, it is the difference. Even if you look at Florida State, they have a competent quarterback now. You can argue they haven't had competent quarterback play since Jameis. You really can. I mean, they had moments with one or two guys in the last 7 years. That's it. I mean, it is, look at the quarterbacks in state now at the big three. You even go Van Dyke with Miami. I mean, we were hoping that this was going to be a good season for the big three. Well, it seems as if they're all settled at quarterback. So maybe we're going to get what it is that we wished for. But yeah, I mean, Mark, we went through the Florida schedule, and there were a handful of games which we thought would be one-score games either way in terms of the spread. And you simply said, listen, if you have the special quarterback that we think you may have, a 6-6, 7-5 season quickly becomes a 9-3, 10-2 season. I mean, that's the difference that a special quarterback can make. I mean, we saw what happened at LSU with Joe Burrow. I mean, all of a sudden a guy goes from being pretty good to great, and you go from pretty good to great.
And it looks like Florida's got some competent runners to go along with Richardson. Nice little football team. They played hard in that game.
It was a terrific game. I mean, it was. There were so many wonderful matchups that were put together for this first week of the college football season, and so many of them delivered. I mean, we went back to, just a little Penn State, Purdue, and Pitt, West Virginia on Thursday night. How long ago does that seem? And then all the games that the ACC played, in which, I think they deserve credit, even though some of them ended up badly for them. Vodtech going to Old Dominion. By the way, that's a 10-year deal. They're doing a home and home with Old Dominion for 10 years. And they started by losing at Old Dominion. And then obviously the North Carolina schools, both of them getting by. In North Carolina and NC State.
Wait a minute. App State just scored again, and then North Carolina just scored again. Okay, sorry, go on.
Wow. Man, well, how many points in that fourth quarter? 62 or something ridiculous?
Something like that.
Wow. So, but there were just so many good matchups, and thankfully, Utah, Florida, LSU, Florida State, and all of these games delivered. Wow. And Mark, no preseason. Huh. How did they do it?
Hell, they even gave us a new playoff over the course of the weekend.
Oh my goodness, that's right.
Just to throw into the mix of the extravaganza. Hey, oh, by the way, we're going to 12, and we'd rather do it tomorrow than next week.
But we'll probably have to wait till 26. But, we're still going to keep pressing for 24. I mean, we got another group meeting this week. They meet on Thursday. So it was just glorious. It really was. I thought it was a tremendous weekend for the sport. And attendance has been a real issue in college football. Last year was the lowest attendance in college football on average in 40 years. And I know you could point out places like UCLA and others in which they did not do well at the gate. But, they set a record at all the locations in the state of North Carolina this weekend. Over 30,000 Florida State fans. And it sounded like more than that made the drive on I-10 West to New Orleans. That sounded like Doak. At times. Yeah.
Apparently it was a home game for FSU.
Well, and it wasn't.
Oh, it wasn't a home game. It wasn't obviously close to a home game. There were far more LSU fans there than Florida State fans, but Florida State represented, which was great to see.
And there were pictures for 2 days leading up to it throughout the streets of New Orleans in which it was like, man, there's no evidence that LSU's here. That's how much Florida State showed up. And then the Swamp, it was a record opening day crowd at Florida. And not only that, it's one thing to go. It's another thing to represent. And the Swamp sounded like the Swamp.
Well, give them a game and it'll sound like the Swamp. Give Florida credit for scheduling this game against Utah. It's a hell of a football game against a really high-ranked quality opponent, and the Gator faithful were there from the word go. They were part of that win.
It was a raucous college football week one. It really was. And imagine that. You schedule games that people want to see, and they respond. What a novel concept. Man, maybe you should do it more often. And Mark, maybe, just maybe, going to 12 will increase the likelihood that we get better early season non-conference games.
Well, particularly because the biggest part of the 12 to me was that there's 6 automatic qualifiers, David. So if you win your conference, you're going to get in, which means, unlike this year, which the Pac-12, unless USC runs the table and kicks everybody's ass the whole way, the Pac-12's done again. Week 1, over. Done. Kaputski.
Kaputski?
Kaputski.
Is that something you can get at one of those holiday festivals? Can I have 2?
You got to be, I think, Upper Peninsula. You can get a pierogi and a knipski.
Just wait a minute. I was going to get pierogies. What is that you're selling there? A Kaputski.
A Kaputski.
Huh. What's in that?
Not much. It's an empty hole. You know what's in it? The Pac-12. It's empty.
I'd like 2. All right. I'm intrigued. Well, then again, I was always a sucker for a good pierogi. So how could I not, dive into a
Exactly. So you and I had talked about it late last week. Like, how does this happen? Well, if you have automatic qualifier, it does lead to the potential for more of these games being scheduled because conference championships now matter more than anything.
And the likelihood is that it will be what was talked about a year ago. Top 4 get buys. Seeds 5 through 8 will host. Seeds 9 through 12. Then once we get down to 8, the quarterfinals will likely be spread out amongst the bowls. We think it's a pretty simple solution. There's really 6 bowl games that have broken away from all the rest, and they will schedule the 4 quarterfinals and the 2 semifinals at those 6 bowl games. And then the national championship game will be like the Super Bowl, and they will just send it to host cities. That's what we think is going to happen based on what was said over the weekend.
The extravaganza delivered and then some. We will talk about it among other things, but there are other sports to talk about. There is a lot going on in the world of baseball. David Samson will join us in a little over an hour to talk Major League Baseball. The NFL is just days away. Pat Kirwan will come on the show today to talk about the National Football League as they start on Thursday night with the Rams and the Bills. And Matt Baker, who covers both the Gators and Knowles, will join us as well in the 8 o'clock hour. We're so happy that you decided to join us. Miller and Moulton right here. Where else but the Florida Sports Network? Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Watson, I took LSU. Okay, if you say so. I didn't pick the game. Wasn't even on my sheet. I mean, I picked Utah. God damn. I mean, had a lead with a minute left. For play of the day, I have him getting both the blocked extra point and the interception.
2 new play-by-play guys, or the TV
Yeah,
calls?
exactly. No, I found both the radio calls, and I think I've got the LSU blocked kick call as well, so we can hear both ends of that one. I don't think it was pure luck, Adam, but I mean, to say that I'm an idiot for picking Utah, I just think it's funny that people are, thank God you pick against Florida all year. Well, Ohio State's offense, the receiver getting hurt didn't help them. That was a lot like Alabama in the title game. All of a sudden, you take out one of your weapons in the first series. It just doesn't. I don't know if Utah should have won. Florida deserved the victory. I'm not saying that. I thought Utah was going to be better than that. I did.
I thought Utah was fine. I think Richardson.
And I love the Florida running backs. I think ATN needs to get the ball a hell of a lot more. Every time he touched it, there's something good that can happen with that kid.
The LSU call is a little underwhelming. But,
well, that's kind of the point. It got blocked.
Well, yeah, but he doesn't complain. He's just oh, it is blocked, and Florida State's going to win this one.
All right, then just get the interception because it's two new guys.
Okay.
Radio guys for Florida State and Florida. They're both on Saturday down south, I believe.
Yeah. If they complained more in the LSU one, I'd say let's run it, but they don't.
Okay.
Yes, he is, DC. And it helps when you get a great win early in your tenure, especially if people think you did a good job with it.
How was that stadium?
It was nice. It was weird. It was like a Dodgers game. They had a huge traffic jam, so a third of the crowd wasn't there at the start of the game. And then since it was so hot, I mean, it was 100 degrees in San Diego. People were losing their minds. I mean, they were having major problems because of the heat out there. And then the home team was down 3 scores early third quarter. So now you got a traffic jam of people leaving. I mean, it was hysterical. It was a Dodger game. Arriving the third, leaving the 7th.
I got the game. How was the stadium?
Hold on, we're coming back.
That was brand new, right?
Yeah, it was nice.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Another great Tuesday lineup. David Samson next hour. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. Matt Baker will join us in a couple hours. He's an AP voter. He's a Heisman voter. He covers football in the state of Florida, Gators and Knowles specifically. Boy, he had nothing going on this weekend. Matt Baker will join us in a couple hours. Once again, the power of Miller and Moulton, which Miller and Moulton do not realize. Certainly, having been fired multiple times and struggling to get contracts and sponsors and things like that. And yet apparently we have the power to determine outcomes of games. It's
as long
remarkable.
as I pick against Florida, apparently that's the only reason they win, David. It was me. And I
congratulations.
I don't know if you took the same type of credit on Twitter. I got it on the text line. I got it. I mean, and me specifically, even though you and I and Lee all took Florida, right. I seem to get more credit than you, and that's fine. I'll take it. It was a hell of a football game. Florida won. I did not think they would. I picked Utah, damn me, to win. They were a 3-point favorite. They were leading until late in the game when Florida overtook the lead on a tremendous play and then held on with an even better interception to win the game in the game's closing moments.
And apparently, we're the reason Florida won. And that's outstanding. Hopefully we can arrange more of this. Just let us know when it's a big game and the outcome is in doubt, and we'll use our magic powers. But that is the beauty of sports. Whether from the superstitions to the, they just not showing us enough respect. Don't you diss us? Oh, for goodness sakes. Like it has anything to do with anything. All right. I mean, one play is different in that game than, the same people giving us credit for picking Utah. I mean, come on. It just enjoy the win. Enjoy the win. Big win. Who knows? Maybe it reshapes this season. We'll see. Florida's still thin on numbers. They need to stay healthy. It was a physical game. They got to come back, play another physical opponent this week. But boy, it'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. Get this week, and suddenly you're thinking, well, heck, we're going to take care of South Florida. We're going to be 3-0 going to Knoxville, baby.
Then you can start pointing at Halloween weekend.
Well, yeah, then you start thinking things like,
you start.
Look at LSU. We're not going to have any problems with LSU. Florida State just beat LSU.
Bingo.
I mean, next thing you know, at most we got one loss, and we're playing Georgia for the SEC East title once again. It's like old times. Bada bing, bada boom. It's the beauty of one win now. That's the beauty. Right. Same with Florida State, Mark. Same with Florida State. We looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year. You're like, oh, man. Like I have been the one saying for a while now that I think Norvell's doing a better job than most everyone's giving him credit for, and that this was a much bigger dumpster fire than was, quite frankly, being told to people. And that's why they're a year behind schedule in most people's minds. But, I mean, if you want to get inside the game, I mean, Florida State did things. Forget the win. Florida State did things we haven't seen them do in 5-6 years. And this may sound incredibly rudimentary, but Mark, they blocked people on Sunday. I mean, come on now. Those of us that have watched Florida State football in the last 5 years haven't been able to block anybody. They have not been able to block. They have not had a consistent quarterback. They've had a moment here and there. They blocked people. They actually ran a game plan in which they stayed consistent running the football. They coached and played that game as if it was going to be a 4-quarter, 60-minute game. I'll be damned. They looked like the better coached team. They looked as if they had a rhyme and a reason from day one. We haven't had that in Tallahassee since Jimbo's second to last year, which was 2016, by the way. So, wow. And now, Mark, you want to play the schedule game with Florida State?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you coming off this game, you got to bye this week to get ready for a Louisville team that just got beat by Syracuse, for crying out loud.
And then don't you play a BC team that just lost at home to Rutgers?
Bingo.
So now all of a sudden you're 4-0. Now, granted, you might be underdogs in 4 straight games in October. I mean, we talked about this. October ain't fun for Florida State. There's no way around it. But now all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel here, maybe a year sooner than I thought. That's what a weekend can do. That's hope.
There's no doubt. And I think the Florida State fan looks at that game in so many different ways. But I think what you talk about, they blocked. Their offensive line moved people occasionally, and LSU's defensive line's still good.
Yeah.
There are holes on that team, and LSU will be fine by the time it's all said and done. But they physically matched up with LSU play after play in that game. And Florida State fan, you haven't seen that in 3 years.
No. And I know you could go, well, hey, we had a rousing effort in the Notre Dame game last year. Yeah, you did. You lost. Remember Bobby Bowden's 4 stages of a rebuild. First stage, you lose big. Second stage, you lose close. Third stage, you win close. Fourth stage, you win big. Florida and Florida State, both winning close. Nice. Feels great, doesn't it? Ha ha! Yeah, baby. Yeah, Labor Day weekend. Got some gas in that tank, don't you?
And if you think about it, normally with that fumble and letting them drive down, you give up the extra point, you lose in overtime. That's the way it's gone for Florida State. And somehow you snatched victory from the jaws of defeat or from the jaws of overtime, whatever you want to say, but you did.
Oh, would have been catastrophic. I mean, it would have been catastrophic. And it would have come down on Norville too for the play call, the pitch. I mean, it would have come down on the coach. So thankfully for him and them, they got out of there with the W that they had earned. I mean, they had outplayed them. They deserved the win, and yet they were dangerously close to entering territory in which it could have been a catastrophe. But now it's all forgotten. The beauty of the scoreboard.
It's got to be there for something, David. It's got to be there for something. And Florida and Florida State both getting it done late, different ways. But defense on both sides, a pick for the Gators and a blocked kick for the Noles, the difference in the games. Unbelievable first week for the two Florida teams. And, oh, by the way, Miami, they had their cupcake and did what they were supposed to do. They blew the cupcake out.
But now there's some real gas in the grill. All right, we're thinking, you know what? This barbecue, this thing's going to last for a while. This isn't going to be just throw a few burgers and hot dogs on here and, one meal and shut it down. Now you're thinking this is going to go noon to midnight, baby. We're cooking. We're cooking all damn day. Everybody's staying. We're drinking. We're ordering more food. We're ordering more drink. You know what it's going to be, Mark? It's going to be an extravaganza. That's what it's going to be. That's what we're thinking after week 1.
You know what I don't think is going to die on this show? Extravaganza.
That and Kaputski.
We try to bring him one at a time to the show. The starting 5 is next for everything that we've missed in the opening 2 segments. Miller and Moulton, we thank you so much for listening right here. Where else but the Florida Sports Network?
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course?
Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit, featuring band attachments to your feet and hips. Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, Paul, but also, first off, Deion's grown up, and secondly, there's none of his players who have his kind of talent, except for maybe his kid. So, yeah. Yeah, Florida State had lost that game. I can only imagine what it would have been like. Bless you.
Thank you.
Could be a really rough year, though, for LSU. It's clear they've got a culture problem still there, and they have a really tough schedule. I mean, remember.
I don't know if we can play a worse half football. Well, I've only been here one game, so maybe we can.
I know. It's pretty funny. There's not a lot of sense of humor amongst college football fans, but that's pretty funny.
God dang, that was really funny if you ask me.
No, Paul, I know you are.
You guys see Deion's son, Shador?
Performance?
Yeah, he was balling. Hopefully they can win a lot of games and get a good opponent for a bowl game or something. I don't know. Do it against the big boys.
No, August, I have faith in Brian. Brian Kelly's won everywhere he's been. Brian Kelly will win at LSU if people just give him an hour and a half. But he may still have to root out about 40 guys here.
And he said so basically after the game. When he started putting all the blame on the coaching staff, these guys don't know how to play football.
Well, and apparently most of the wide receiving core took like everything that was LSU off of all their social media. I mean, that's what, that's what he's dealing with. And they're going to go 5-7 this year. So it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Weren't they bad Brian Kelly's first year in Notre Dame as well?
I can't remember. I just know year 3 they played for the national title.
Yep. Had a man by the name of Manti Te'o. 10 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
$22 before the hour. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? How was your Labor Day weekend? Thanks for beginning, in many of your cases, your work week with us, Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson, 1 hour from now. Pat Kirwan at 8 o'clock. Matt Baker, 2 hours from now, to talk a lot of Gators and Noles, which will certainly be a focal point of today's show. 2 great wins for those 2 programs that coming off last year, and in Florida State's case, coming off the last darn near handful of years. Hey, take those great wins, and we don't just push them to the side that quickly. Let's savor them for an hour and a half at least. Nothing wrong with savoring them again on Tuesday morning before we start getting ready for our next week. And in Florida State's case, they got a bye this week, so they can cannonball into the deep end and swim around for a little while after that LSU win.
Walk around campus with a little smile on their face for a week and take the pats on the back, David. They deserve them because they've not had a lot of them recently, particularly in moments like this.
Right. And the student body that's ignored half of the team for a couple years, now they're walking up to those guys going, "Hey, man, what's your name again?" Great win. It is time for
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
Well, the extravaganza ended with a game that none of us had high hopes for. And Georgia Tech actually delivered a little bit. I mean, it was a game mid to late third quarter. And then Clemson overwhelmed the Yellow Jackets. 41-10, a win and a cover, as Clemson scored the final 27 points in the game. Mark, something to pay attention to later today. Much was made in this state that first time that Florida and Florida State had both not been ranked in the polls since, I believe, the late 80s. Well, AP poll comes out later today. You think all 3 are ranked?
I don't know about the Noles. It's going to be close. They may creep in. If they are, they're going to be 24, 25. I'm curious to see where they put the Gators because I think they're going to be around 15.
Canes were in the mid-teens. They had a resounding win. And you know how pollsters are wont to take teams that lose early and drop them far. Let's see how close to the top 10 Miami can get. I expect the Canes in the 13 to 14 range when the polls come out later today. NFL news with the season opening in 2 days if you're the Bills and the Rams, in 5 days if you're just about everyone else. David Bakhtiari, Mark, looks as if he's going to play at left tackle for the Packers. He's played 1 game in 20 months, coming off the major knee injury. He was still a little coy, only answering questions by saying, "Well, I'm on the active roster, aren't I?" Okay. Packers opening up in Minnesota against the Vikings. Remember, week 1 last year, Packers played the Saints in Jacksonville and got destroyed. So, Green Bay's had issues week 1 before. Jets listing Joe Flacco as the starter against the Ravens, but Zach Wilson says, quote, it's possible, unquote, that I may play Sunday against Baltimore. He had knee surgery on August 16th. Do the math. It seems to be a bit rushed, but hey, he wants to start. Most of us think they'll let Flacco play against his former team and get Zach ready for week 2. The Jags say running back James Robinson, quote, should play, unquote, less than 9 months after he tore his Achilles on the day after Christmas against the Jets. He did virtually nothing in the preseason. They've been very protective of him. If you really think about it, we're talking about 8.5 months for a running back coming back from a torn Achilles, but it looks as if James Robinson is going to play for the Jags. Major League Baseball, Mark, the Rays. We talked about the big series against the Yankees, where they took the first 2 games and then lost Sunday 2-1. Controversial ending of that game. The Rays had scored a run, had 2 on with 2 out, and a 3-2 pitch was clearly low, and it was called strike 3. So instead of bases being loaded with 2 outs and a single away from winning the game, well, the Yankees got out of there with a W. Rays bounced back last night. They beat the Red Sox 4-3. They remained 5 back in the East, 4 in the loss column because the Yankees came home and beat the Twins, because that's what the Yankees do. They beat the Twins.
Boy, nothing says breaking the schedule like Yankees versus Twins for the New York Yankees. Holy cow.
Judge homered in his 3rd straight game. That's 54. 54 on the season for Aaron Judge.
If I saw this right, and I didn't see it yesterday, so I'm going to add it. I believe before yesterday's game, since the All-Star break, the Yankees had hit 50 home runs. Judge had hit 20 of the 50.
Sounds about right.
So now that's 21 of 51, including yesterday. That's remarkable, David.
And it was a big homer, too. He broke a 2-2 tie with a 2-run shot, and they won 5-2. Twins now fall a game behind the Guardians, who snapped their 5-game losing streak with a 6-5 10-inning win over the Royals. The White Sox, it's funny, Tony La Russa has to go for some medical tests. His future is in doubt, and the White Sox start winning without him. They beat Seattle yesterday 3-2. The White Sox now 2 back of the Guardians. So Cleveland 1 ahead of Minnesota, 2 ahead of the Southsiders. And Seattle tied with Tampa Bay for the 4 seed. And the Jays are just a half a game behind both of them. And Mark, it may have ended for the Orioles yesterday. This was a big 4-game series against Toronto in Baltimore. Started with a doubleheader, and the Jays swept the Twin Bills 7-3 and 8-4. And what was a 2.5-game deficit for the final wild card spots, now 4.5. And unless the Orioles win today and tomorrow against the Jays, seemingly barring just a collapse by somebody or just a wild dash to the finish by the Orioles, that their terrific run here looks as if we can circle the date. It was Labor Day. That's when it ended against the Jays. 4.5 back for the final playoff spot in the AL. Milwaukee beat Colorado 6-4. They're 2 back of both the Phillies and the Padres for the final playoff spots in the National League. They did pick up a game on the Cardinals, but St. Louis's lead is 7.5 in the Central. Break up the Nats. They've won 3 in a row. Also, over the Labor Day weekend, Pujols hit another homer. He's at 695. 695 for Albert Pujols. So Judge at 54. Pujols at 695. 2 away from 4th all-time, and obviously 5 away from a magic number of 700. I'm just going to throw this out there, Mark. I think it's possible. Final week of the season. Cardinals have already clinched the Central. Would not surprise me if somebody batting practice fastballs one for Pujols if he's at 699. There were stories back in the day at Mickey Mantle's final year in which a couple pitchers grooved some ones for Mickey. I think if he's at 699 and it's really late, something like that's possible.
I definitely think if he's tied with A-Rod, he'll get one to get ahead of A-Rod. I don't know about if someone wants to, and I'm serious, I don't know if someone wants to groove 700 for him.
Okay.
Might want to make him earn 700. 698. On the other hand, David, to go into 5 all by himself, that's a different story.
Arizona shut out San Diego 5-0. Padres trying to make the playoffs play 17 of their final 26 at home. Now, they're only 6 above 500 at home, but in theory, San Diego, with a bunch of home games here, they should be able to finish it off, right? Houston's lead is 11. They beat Texas 1-0. The Giants beat the Dodgers, Mark, and that means the Dodgers lead is only 19 in the West. Isn't their magic number single digits? I mean, it's remarkable. It's Labor Day weekend. I think their magic number is single digits to clinch the West. I mean, they're 19 up. The Padres only have 26 to play. I think the Dodgers have like 28. I mean, the magic number, do quick math here. It seems like the number is like 8 or 9 to clinch. Angels got 2 homers from Ohtani and a homer from Trout. Ohtani's got 32. Trout's got 30 in a 10-0 win over the Tigers. U.S. Open, and I know many of you stopped paying attention Friday night when Serena got beat in 3 sets, but there are some great stories going on, and the tournament has a feel like it used to have. The crowds have responded. They have been raucous, and they've been very pro-USA. And it helped Francis Tifo yesterday, a 24-year-old American seeded 22nd, do something that he had never done, which is beat Rafael Nadal. In fact, it was only the second time Nadal's ever lost to an American in a Grand Slam. He beat him in 4 sets to advance to the quarterfinals. Every male left in the tournament has not won a Grand Slam. It's the first time in like the modern era that you've got 8 quarterfinalists at the U.S. Open, and none of them have won a Grand Slam before. Kyrgios is...
It helps when 2 of the guys that have won most of the Grand Slams aren't in the tournament, and the third got beat yesterday. I mean...
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But also top-seeded Medvedev got taken out Sunday by Kyrgios. And Kyrgios beat him at Wimbledon. He beat him at the U.S. Open again in 4. On the women's side, Coco Gauff makes it to the quarters, and she's got a good draw. She faces the 17th seed, Caroline Garcia of France. She'll be favored to win that, make it to the semis. Also, the highest seeded American woman left, Jessica Pegula, the 8th seed. She'll face the 1 seed Swiatek in the quarterfinals. And that, gentlemen, unless I missed something, I mean, you know, there was the LIV golf that ended on Saturday with DJ winning in a playoff. And Pat Perez has now made more money in 4 LIV events than he made in like his entire PGA Tour career. So if you want to know why people left, we're going to give you a clue. It's the money. And that was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, the only live golf news I saw was Wolf had a hole-in-one at some point, and then he bent his putter and may have had to putt with like a 5-wood for part of the round.
I will say it is, if you're trying to find out what is going on that tour, the mainstream media has gone out of their way to not make any news or results available. I mean, you go on a major website and try to find out what's going on in an LIV golf tournament. It's hard. And we talked about this. They got a lot of broadcast partners. They got ESPN, they got CBS, they got NBC, which includes the Golf Channel. I mean, it's tough to find out if you're curious. Good luck.
And they're not going to do anything to upset their partner, the PGA Tour.
Nope.
So it has made it tough sledding. ESPN's shown a couple of shots on plays of the day here and there, but they don't really cover it to any length. So you're right. And besides, we had an extravaganza to cover over the weekend.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And a raucous U.S. Open. And for those that have paid attention, they have realized, wow, this is pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Be curious to see, Coco Gauff, Francis Tifo. We've talked about this, Mark. It's certainly time in America for the next generation. The Williams sisters are done, and the big three is getting very close to extinction. Even Rafa talked about father time after getting beat. I mean, he's 36. There's no guarantee he returns to New York. First off, his health is a tournament by tournament proposition. And secondly, all right, he'll be 37 next year. I mean, most athletes are not doing their thing at 37.
Particularly in that sport.
So is the next generation ready? Are we going to look back and circle this tournament and see what happens with Coco Gauff here, see what happens with Tifo, whose story is remarkable, by the way, look it up. Parents emanated here from West Africa, and he's got a twin brother, and dad was a worker at a tennis academy, and so that's why he always had a racket in his hand. Mom worked 2 jobs, and just a remarkable story. And he was happier that his parents were there to see the win than him actually recording the win. Great stuff.
David Samson, who always has a remarkable story or two, will join us next hour. Pat Kirwan and Matt Baker in the 8 o'clock hour to talk pro and college football. A poll question on the other side with Miller and Moulton right here. Where else? The Florida Sports Network. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David.
Mm-hmm.
Tiafo. Francis Tiafo.
Right.
He's a beast.
But, yeah. Yeah, great story.
We need a new fresh slate.
Oh my God.
We need a poll question more than we need new American tennis players, though.
Oh, I agree with that.
Poll question helps our show out more than new American tennis players help out our show. In fact, new American tennis players don't do a jack shit for this show.
God, what are you trying to say?
Trying to say I'd like to get a poll question up. And I've got shit.
Is Florida State back?
Hell, is Florida back?
Do you like the new 12-team playoff?
There you go.
Well, JB, it'll be interesting because technically I believe he's eligible to go pro after this year. But think about what the top of that draft class could look like. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, the defensive end there from Alabama. I mean, so
freshman kicker Damian Ramos, who might be the most nervous person in the Superdome right now. Roy to snap, Ramlet to hold, to send it to free football. Snap, spot, blocked! Yeah! It's no good! Yeah! It's blocked!
I'll tell you what.
Well, for you, the color guy just stepping all over the play-by-play guy.
I hate it. I hate
Shut
it.
Up.
That's a broadcast ick for you.
It's horrible.
Happens all the time.
All the time.
Especially with the local ones.
Yep. Happens more in college than it does.
We're coming back.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday after Labor Day. We hope you had a great holiday weekend. And we assume, like us, that you are headed back to work on this day. Thanks for bringing us with you here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson, a little more than a half an hour to talk about life, pursuit of happiness, and a little baseball. Pat Kirwan, 1 hour from now, to do the same, only with football. And Matt Baker in about an hour and a half to talk, well, Gators and Knowles, among other things in college football. He's a top 25 voter and a Heisman voter and covers football in the state. And it was a glorious weekend in state. although South Florida and FAU both lost. I'm very familiar with the FAU loss because I had them, and I was laying 3.5. They lost on the road to a MAC team. And you and I didn't have a great weekend making picks for the first time.
Terrible weekend. Absolutely horrific.
We lost a lot of close games this weekend. If you're going to suffer close losses, Mark, I want it early. I did.
If you say so. I'd like it.
I don't
never.
want it late. Early. Well, obviously.
I don't really want to pick a time when I want to lose. I don't want bad beats early. I don't want bad beats late. I don't want bad beat. I'd like Brett Bielema to kick a field goal when up.
Well,
maybe put the game away.
Would Illinois fans, actually. Or nothing else, make it so that you can't lose in regulation. Right. Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, something like that.
That would have been nice, but neither here nor there. 1-4 start for me, 2-5 start for you, David. We just keep on keeping on.
Right, but we're being given credit by, which I find it funny, by the way. We differed on the Florida State LSU game. Okay, so there's no credit to be given there. But
no,
since we agreed,
you got credit for that one for having Florida State.
Okay, so let me get this straight. So the power isn't a joint thing? I thought it was a joint power thing. I thought it had to be Miller and Moulton in unison. Okay, either way. But if we're in unison, we get credit. And so since we picked against Florida, all right, we were being given credit for the Gators win, which is remarkable. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm pretty sure we had nothing to do with it. But, hey, thanks. Take it where we can get it.
Absolutely.
And
you were on FSU from the word go. I thought LSU would win the football game. I didn't have a big stake in that one. You put it on your Super 7, Fantastic 5, however many bets Moulton wants to make segment of the show.
Right. And once again, for the record, probably the first indication that maybe week 1 wasn't going to go well for me. I forgot what it is we named the segment. And I remembered it being different. I remember it being something from our first act, not our second or our third for that matter. So I went with 7 picks when I only had to go with 5.
But we're both 3 games beneath 500, no matter how we did it. After
there you go.
There we go. Paying the man again.
That's right. We're the Red Sox in the AL East, baby. Yep. Looking up.
Lee did not have a great week as well, but he did hit his game of the week. His game of the week was Clemson and laying the points, and Lee had that going away. Well, not going away. Had it going away by the time it was over. They pulled away in the 4th to cover that game and win handily, did Clemson.
And let's face it, the other stuff that he went 2 and 3 on, he gave them out for free. Okay, in theory, you paid for the game of the week. So that's the one you want him to get right. Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday. But, we're obviously wanting to come up with a college football-related poll question. We've had a couple of nominees from our audience, either texting or in the Twitch chat room. All right, I will say a good one is who had a bigger win, Florida or Florida State. That's okay. I know, my son-in-law is a big Florida State fan. And so I had to listen to all day yesterday, quote, "We're back, baby," unquote.
All right. I just want everybody in Tallahassee and around the great state of Florida to slow down with that, because if I have this right, in the magazine I'm looking at, in Phil Steele's magazine, which is the #1 college football publication in the country, he has LSU picked to finish last in the SEC West.
Well, he does, Mark.
Last.
Mark.
Beating the last place team in the SEC West is not back.
Mark.
Slow down. Beat Louisville.
Mark, I know that. You know that. It's been a rough 5 years. 5 years. Not one. Not two. You got to admit, Noel fan didn't suffer through what Gator fan went through last year. Okay. Knoll fans had 5 of those in a row. All right. They're down. All right. So they are just right now. I mean, their feet haven't touched the ground, Mark.
And they shouldn't. And it's
36 hours and counting.
And they just let them stay up there without the "we're back" comments. I've heard "we're back" from programs for 2 decades. How's Texas doing? So what I would like to see is someone get consistent. Before we start barking that we're back, just slow down. Just enjoy it. Don't worry about the future. In this moment, worry about the past. And just submerge yourself in all the greatness that was that win over LSU.
Mark, they have a bye week this week. Just let him and them, let them just swim around in the deep end. They got invited to the country club. They haven't been invited in 5 years. Okay, now they're swimming around. They're flirting with the pretty women again that they haven't talked to in 5 years. Just let them.
Let them talk. But the problem is, here they're going, instead of just saying, "Hey, how you doing? Want to get a drink later? Hey, you want to get in my limo? We're going to go to the best club in the world. And we're going to drink the best. I've got a bottle." Just walk before you run. That's all. Someone's saying, "There goes Mark hating again." I'm not hating. Just enjoy it, but don't get too big, because the letdown will be even harder. I've watched so many of these programs tell me that they're back and then get a letdown, and all of a sudden their head explodes. Just enjoy the moment. Is that possible?
Mark, I think you're forgetting about the subject matter of which you're speaking of again. Okay, you're approaching this logically. You're approaching this from a real world perspective. Mark, we're talking about major college football here. Okay, when did any of the stuff that you're saying have anything to do with the life as a fan of a major college football program? Okay, I mean, we built this monster based on hope, based on we're back, based on feeding the monster of all the hype. And you want to talk about, just take it one game at a time, make sure you beat Louisville and then BC, get to 4-0. October's going to be tough. What the heck? I want to flirt with the ladies over there. They haven't invited me to their club in 5 years. Can I just go swimming for a weekend? Huh?
So being back is being in the country club?
Yes.
Whatever.
Yes. Now, there are cliques within the country club. Okay, I mean, they can't go to the back rooms, mind you. They're not allowed in the building over to the left. Okay, they even still have to park in the guest spaces in the lot. Okay,
damn right they do.
Right, but they got through
they are a guest. They are not a member.
Right.
Understand that they are here because they know somebody.
Yes.
So they got in for a night, and they're just hanging out at the pool, and they're charging too much stuff on someone else's tab.
Well, maybe a little bit, but that's the guy who got them in for the weekend. But Mark, they got through the front gate. They've been trying to get through that front gate for 5 years. It's like, I'm sorry, Mr. Moulton, you're not allowed in here. Well, what do you mean? I know Johnny and Tommy. And it's like, yeah, they don't have your name down. I'm sorry. All right. You're just going to have to pull to the right. You can make a U-turn. You could leave. It's okay. We'll just tell everybody you left your ID at home. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine.
Well, all right. Then in that case, let's have the poll question be, who's more likely to make the college football playoff, Florida or Florida State? Because I have got this all wrong. They're
Mark,
both going on.
Right.
That's my fault. That's my fault.
Mark, I know
Should the Noles be 20 or 30-point favorites against Louisville in 2 weeks?
Mark, I know you're right. Most people know you're right. This is college football we're talking about here. This is like going to a national convention. Okay, there's nothing that your party does that's wrong. Every candidate is great. We're going to win every single vote. That's what life is like now. When you're 2-0 and one of the wins is against mighty Duquesne, you're back, baby. Okay? You are back. And by back, it translates into, normally at this point in the last 5 years, our season was already over. That's what back means. That's the definition of back.
Now, on the other hand of this, I'm not ready to qualify the Noles as back, but the Gators have already qualified themselves as back. Do you know how I knew? You know the first indicator? And if you're just new to the show, this isn't, we don't do politics and religion, but David and I are both Catholic. And I go to church with my wife and my daughter every week. And Florida fans aren't, I wouldn't assess, and I could be dead wrong here, as the normal Florida fan being Catholic. But when I saw 2 or 3 Gator shirts at 8:30 Mass on Sunday after they had just got done beating Utah, I went, oh yeah, baby. They're feeling it. That's my indicator, is what the church garb is on Sunday morning. And when I saw someone with the Florida sweatshirt on at 8:15 in the morning, I went, oh yeah, they're feeling it.
You're like, wow, this was a bigger win than I thought. How big of a win was it? Church garb on Sunday. Oh,
church garb on Sunday after the win, as if to say, thank you, God, for that one last night.
Well, I mean, you weren't, come on, even the Gator fan wasn't thinking of pick 6 in the end zone to win in regulation. They were just hoping to get a stand and win in overtime.
Our clutch vodka plays of the day, hint, hint, because the weekend wasn't good enough for just one. We'll get to those coming up. We've got a poll question to share with you. And David Samson, still 35 minutes away. Great hour ahead right here on Miller and Moulton. We thank you so very much for listening on the Florida Sports Network. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit, featuring band attachments to your feet and hips. Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
I'm not either.
Okay. Love you.
All right, I just put up for the poll question. College football we'll go with the 12th playoff with 6 qualifiers beginning as soon as 2024. Do you like it?
Now, the president's recommended 2026. So it could happen in 2024, but the guys on Thursday.
Soon as 2024.
Right.
I can just put beginning in 2026. Okay with that?
Yeah.
What's up?
That is funny, Johnny Mac. Out changing their license plate brackets back to orange and blue.
Oh, they are so back.
Well, I will say you got a quarterback that plays like that. Aren't many teams you don't think he can beat. I forget who it was in here. I picked Auburn last also. That was my team to finish last in the West.
And look, I'm not saying, all I am saying is that you can't go back on, we're back on beating a team that.
No, I know. I was just answering a comment. That's all. My wife just nominated the poll question. She just went downstairs and they didn't have any coffee. She came back up angry and horrified. And she's thinks the poll question should be something about, okay, as a hotel chain, how can you not have coffee in your lobby?
Don't you have coffee in your room? Don't you have a little?
We do, but apparently it's okay. I mean, she thought she'd be able to go downstairs and get an upgrade. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I have no idea what the coffee protocol in hotels is. I'm used to going to the vending machine.
Oh, we know.
Well, Watson, based off of what he did Saturday, yes, I think he would be. I think teams would draft the potential. I mean, if Trey Lance can go third, I know all drafts are different, but yeah, I was in San Diego. Man, was it hot. Nice stadium. Really nice. Exactly the way you want stadiums built. Spacious, wide concourses.
Press boxes?
Well, yeah. I mean, the main press box is down by the one corner of the end zone, but, the booth is at the 50-yard line, and it was big. Of course, I'm not sure it's actually a booth. I think they commandeered like their best suite and gave it to the network. Well, and Hops, we are talking a lower level hotel chain. I mean, it's just a one night stay. I wasn't going to empty the bank account.
Tell her just to DoorDash Starbucks.
I told her we're in Hotel Row here. I said, there's 3 other hotels you can walk to. 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute walk. I mean, just walk into 3 different lobbies. One of them will have coffee.
Or are you talking about the hot dog guy task thing? Where his job
No.
is? Oh, no.
We're talking about David's wife's coffee.
I'm sorry. My bad. We're coming back.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. David Samson, a little more than 15 minutes time for his weekly appearance. We're thrilled that David has agreed to come on every Tuesday at roughly 7:35. Right on through the World Series. That'll be awesome. But we billed this past weekend as a 5-day college football extravaganza. And we were right. It was. fact, 2023 has already got a lot to live up to. Just start working on those schedules, boys. Giving people the games they want to see, okay? It's a very simple theme. Who you thinking of scheduling? How about we schedule somebody that our fans want to see us play? Huh? Novel concept.
You know, they did it in North Carolina. It worked out really well. North Carolina State get the W's in thrilling fashion. North Carolina and Appalachian State scores 62 points in the fourth quarter. 62 points in the fourth quarter. How about App State? 5 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, and they lose.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But I have to give Mac Brown a bunch of credit. 1, for taking the game and going up there and playing it. 2, for doing maybe the best deflecting job after the game that I've ever seen. When asked about the play and all this, a lot of things he could say. All he did was rave about how good his quarterback was, how good their quarterback was, how great the atmosphere was, and how good it was for college football. Because all of those things are true, even though it was a catastrophe for North Carolina in the fourth quarter of that game.
Well, and the other thing that happened this weekend, Mark, was technically, now you and I hate preseason polling because it is oftentimes inaccurate. And so people are making conclusions based on what the preseason polls were. And number 3, Georgia, absolutely housed number 11, Oregon. And for those that don't want the college football playoff to be any bigger, their argument is, well, take a look at what just happened, okay, when number 3 plays number 11.
And with the Pac-12, with Oregon and both Utah losing, the Pac-12's done.
Can I challenge you on that? And you may be right.
Okay? Unless USC runs the table, they're done.
Okay. Can I just challenge you this on Utah? And you're the third person I've played devil's advocate with. The other 2 agree with you.
Smart people, those other 2.
What if this turns out to be like a 10-win Florida team? Okay, good team. At the end of the year, they're ranked top 15, maybe even the back end of the top 10. Like, Dan's first 2 teams in Florida were ranked at the back end of the top 10. They won 10 games both those years. What if this ends up being one of those type teams? Utah loses a final play of the game type game to a top 10 team on the road and runs the table.
Yeah, I think that they're done, David. I really do. I think an Oklahoma would get in front of them. I think
with one loss. I mean, see, that's we all know if you have a 1 and everybody else is a 0 in the right-hand column, we know that. I'm just talking about, like, if the big 3 is the big 3, if everybody's just putting Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia in, and we're battling for the 4th spot, and everybody else has a 1 in the right-hand column, are we sure Utah's 1 disqualifies them already?
I think it does, David. I think a Michigan put it this way, I think a Michigan with a 1, even if that 1 was the last game of the season against Ohio State, would get in before Utah. I know for a fact Notre Dame, if they run the table and Utah runs the table, Notre Dame gets in before Utah. I believe that a 1-loss Big 12 team would get in front of a 1-loss Pac-12 team. Now, if you would have flipped the scores and Georgia beat Oregon the way that Florida beat Utah, I would say that Oregon would still have a live shot at this. But unless the Gators are going to go 11-1, in which case, if the Gators go 11-1 and lose to Georgia, they'd get in before Utah would.
No, Mark. I
understand.
Mark, with all due respect, everybody could come up with 37 scenarios. I'm just saying, are we sure if Utah rips off 12 consecutive wins and their only loss is a final play of the game loss at Florida, which most people in the industry says is one of the 10 toughest places to play, are we sure that that's it? Their season is over?
I believe the Pac-12, with the exception of USC running the table, is done, David. I think the media will end the Pac-12. And yes, I drew up some scenarios. You drew up yours, I drew up mine. It's as simple as that. I think there are a lot of teams that would get in ahead of Utah. I think that the mountain that they would have to climb, that so much would have to happen in that 12-game run for them to pass the Big 12, the second and third place teams in the SEC, the second place team in the Big 10. I think a lot has to happen now for Utah. And that's why I'm in favor of this college football playoff, David. I really am. Because it gives an automatic qualifier to a Pac-12 and gives them another shot that I don't think they have today.
Okay. Fair enough. Like in my world, they can still get in. Okay. And I grant you, second place team in the Big 10, ACC champion, Big 12 champion. All right. All right now, probably a half a step ahead of Utah running the table and getting in. But I actually think there's only about 5 teams that would be ahead of Utah right now getting in if they ran the table. I don't think it's the mountain that you think it is. I think it's a good, solid, especially since we have David Samson coming up, Mark, in about 10 minutes. I mean, there's a mountain and then there's a David Samson mountain. I think it's a hill.
Well, we had a couple of hills that teams had to get over. It's time now for our Clutch Vodka plays of the day. Not good enough for one. Let's have 2 drinks.
Freshman kicker Damian Ramos, who might be the most nervous person in the Superdome right now. Roy to snap, Ramlet to hold, to send it to free football. Snap, spot, blocked! Yeah! It's so good! Yeah! It's blocked! Shaheed Brown got his mitt on it! Fire up the war chant and plant the spear! Knowles win! Knowles win! Mike Norvell, you have your signature win early on in non-conference play.
Jeff Culhane and the Knowles Radio Network with the blocked extra point, his color commentator stepping all over him, and a win for the Knowles. From one great play for a Florida school to another great play for a Florida school.
Rising on the shotgun with Bernard off his right hip, looking to throw, guns it for the end zone. Intercepted! Amari Burney just intercepted it 1 yard in the end zone. The Gators are going to win the football game on a takeaway by Amari Burney. Up by 3. A bullet by Rising right into the gut of Burney.
They're the Gators Radio Network.
Sean Kelly. His first game, by the way. You know, Mick Hubert talked about he needed like game 2 of year 4 to have a signature moment, to have the Gator faithful recognize him as their voice. Sean Kelly gets it first game out of the chute.
And those are Clutch Vodka plays of the day. Clutch Vodka coming to a Total Wine near you. Be on the lookout for Clutch Vodka.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Great weekend of college football.
And I hope that the Knowles and Gators fans enjoy the great calls from their new announcers, and hope it leads them to many years calling Knowles and Gators games, because they're replacing legends, and we get it. But it's great to have a big signature call early in your tenure for both of those. So great job by both of those guys, and great wins by the Knowles and the Gators as they get things done over the weekend. David Samson, he always gets things done. He'll do it next on Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
David Samson threw out 5 bold predictions yesterday. Now, one of them looks really good after yesterday, but I mean, it's hot at Hard Rock, but I mean, the Canes only have like one signature win at Hard Rock. It was the Notre Dame game 5 years ago now. 5 years ago. You're right, Anderson.
That's really not the question, Ded, because they're not back like they were back in the day. They might both be ranked between 18 and 25.
David's on hold.
RCB, it's the second time you've said that. What are you so pumped up about? Now, if they had won Sunday, if they had pulled the sweep where they'd be 3 back, 2 in the loss column, that's a different story.
$15.
And you're right. Gene would have never let the color guy do that to him.
10 seconds.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Hope you had a great holiday weekend, and we thank you for starting your week off with us. Pat Kirwan to talk all things NFL at the top of the hour. Matt Baker to talk about the Gators and Knowles' big wins over the weekend, coming up 1 hour from now. It's a pleasure to welcome back David Samson. He of the great daily podcast, Nothing Personal with David Samson. You can follow David on Twitter at David P. Samson, David, the letter P, Samson. David and Mark, hope you had a great holiday weekend. How are you?
Looks like we're having some problems like every other weekend on a Tuesday morning when there's a 3-day weekend around here. The phones aren't working. So hopefully that can get rectified, because I know we tested it before the show and everything seemed to be working right. So I don't know what happened there. So Felipe will try to get David back on the line. But best laid plans, as they say.
David
so not
made
exactly sure what happened there.
David made 5 bold predictions yesterday. One of them already looks good. David threw out 5 questions. Will the Orioles make the playoffs? He said no. Well, after yesterday's doubleheader sweep at the hands of the Blue Jays, that one looks really good. David, can you hear us?
I hear you perfectly now. How are you?
That is fantastic. We are well, and we hope that you had a great holiday weekend. Were you one of those, by the way, during your baseball tenure in which you took a look at the standings on Labor Day and you said, this is it? Or did you believe, hell no, we got the stretch here, anything could happen?
I was the executive who said that only until the day after I was mathematically eliminated would I say that we were done. So there was always the hope of a winning streak. Now, executives will all say the same thing to you, and they're all lying, every last one of them. Oh, we don't look at the standings till Memorial Day. Well, that's a bunch of horse hockey. We're all looking at the standings every single day. But we don't want to admit it because we want to make believe we're cool, that we don't care as much, and that we know more than the regular fan, that it doesn't matter what happens in April. But guess what? It does matter what happens in April. And so there's not one executive I know who doesn't know the standings every single day of the season.
All right. Let's take that to the Yankees and Brian
Did I
Cashman.
lose you?
No, you didn't lose us at all. Well, how much is Brian Cashman looking at the standings, and what do you do at this point of the year? When you're the executive, there's not much I don't think you can do, but what goes on through Cashman's brain as this lead's being erased and we're watching a team that was once 50-20 reel through the rest of the season?
What's going through Cashman's mind is how thankful he is to be in New York, and how thankful he is that Major League Baseball and the broadcast partners want to make sure New York wins that division and everything's good and that they get deep into October. So that's always a positive, right? That strike 3 call to end the Rays-Yankees series was terrible. And I think it's very clear. I don't know if you guys have talked about it yet this morning, but the difference between that, right? You don't know if the Rays win that game, but let's say they do. That's a big difference. 5 games back is a bit of a hill to climb, and it makes me a little concerned. And I think it's very important for the Yankees to get the bye. MLB would want that. I think that the broadcast networks want that, to make sure that they're through to the division series and not risking losing in the wild card, because the Yankees are not, by any stretch, the best team. They're just not. So I think that Brian Cashman looks at it and says, 5 games, I'm quite a bit more comfortable now. There are teams. The Marlins crushed the Mets' hopes when the Mets had a much bigger lead than 5 games in 2000, 7 or 8. And I remember when we eliminated the Mets, we were playing them in Shea Stadium, I believe. It just felt really good. So all that strength of schedule stuff, that really doesn't matter in September because you've got players who really enjoy ruining other players' postseason so they can be as miserable as they are.
Well, and you brought up a couple of points there, but I want to start with the first one that you made. You implied that you think that there are forces in the sport that will conspire to help the Yankees win the AL East. Do you really believe that?
You know, you use the word conspire, which really makes it as though I'm saying something so outrageous that I'm some sort of conspiracy theorist or conspiracist theory. I'm not. That's not who I am. I'm just the practical one. I was in the sport for 18 years, and I know exactly. I was there when I was told, God, I don't want your team to win because it could be Cubs, Yankees, or Cubs, Red Sox in the World Series. That would be better for baseball. I was there. I've watched it. I'm there when teams are chosen who's going to be on the national sort of scale, who's going to get the promotional, muscle behind it, who's going to go play internationally, who's going to get the commercials, who's going to get the Sunday night games. I've been a part of all of that. So I don't understand what you're saying to me. Conspiracy theory, no. MLB would rather the Yankees be deep in the playoffs than the Rays. Am I saying something that you did not realize until just now?
No.
Hey, let me ask you on that, though, David, because we get it. They want big market teams. They certainly want the Yankees and the Red Sox. Do they get it right? Basketball is always marketed at star players, and we have Trout and Ohtani that are in a wasteland with the Angels. Does baseball do it right, and what should they be doing different marketing their sport?
Well, we would love to market God, I got to stop that. They would love to market their stars as the way the NBA does, but baseball players don't cooperate the way NBA players do. NBA players, they make appearances, they do signings, they do international trips where they go around and they do shoe deals and promote them. And they've got unbelievable social media followings and they're active on it and they're cool. And MLB players just aren't. They don't have that because the grind of the season is so difficult that when they're not playing during the season, they don't want to be bothered to do anything because there's so few off days. And by the time the off season comes, they want to recover. So they don't want to have to go on these goodwill trips or do things that are trying to build their own personal brand. And so it's just much more difficult to market stars in MLB. I think they tried it recently with Let the Kids Play. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah, and then the kids, use needles, right? So you have to be very careful when you figure out who you're going to focus on because in baseball, there's always the next one. There's no a LeBron James who hey, we're going to put everything behind this guy because he's going to be here for 15 years and he can be the bedrock, right? The keystone of building our foundation. Baseball just doesn't work that way. It's much more a team sport than the NBA. And it's obvious, right? When you have LeBron James, you're going to make the playoffs. When you have Trout and Ohtani, you're going to watch October. So that is a problem. You can't put all your eggs in Trout's basket and then have him not play in October.
David Samson, his daily podcast is Nothing Personal with David Samson, NPDS, and you can follow David on Twitter, David, the letter P, Samson, David P. Samson. All right, you made 5 predictions yesterday, with it being Labor Day. 2 of them look really good. You said the O's would not make the playoffs, and that was before they got swept by the Jays, which probably put a fork in them. You said the Yankees would hold off the Rays, and as we've mentioned, they're 5 up, 4 in the loss column. Big 3-game series coming up this weekend. Rays probably need a sweep. You said the Mets would hold off the Braves because of a schedule advantage. Still feel that way?
So, yeah, let me explain the Mets-Braves situation. That was pre-Scherzer fatigue. And what I should have tweeted there, and the whole 280-character thing just throws me off, but on Nothing Personal, when you get the full sort of scoop like on your show every week. They need Scherzer and DeGrom. With Scherzer and DeGrom pitching every 5 days, they're going to win that division. But if there's missed time by those guys or lack of performance, then they're not. Because that's the best 1-2 sort of pitching combination in baseball. And my thought was, like in basketball, when a team is down by 20 and they use so much energy to get tied and then they end up losing the game by 7, like they just can't get over the hump. That's the feeling I get from the Braves, that they can catch the Mets, but to surpass them, like the way the Cardinals have surpassed the Brewers, that took the Cardinals being unreal and the Brewers being absolutely stinky all at once. I don't think you'll see that with the Mets Braves, so it's pretty hard to overtake. But they're only 1 game back, and Scherzer's got fatigue, so I'm slightly worried about that prediction.
All right, your other 2 predictions had to do with home runs. Aaron Judge hit another one last night. Still think he doesn't get to 62.
So I got a thank you note from his agent, because that was just the motivation he needed. And I got Pujols' agent, who is also Fernando Tatis's agent, a guy named Dan Lozano, called me up or texted or whatever. I think I have to say texted, right? If they didn't call, but they texted. But the kids today say we spoke to the people, even though they actually never opened their mouth. It was all with their fingers. So the finger said, "Hey, Pujols, way to go. He's got it." And he didn't really say that. There's no way he's getting 700. Is there? Is he really hit home runs at this pace for another 5 home runs? Is it going to happen? I'm still going to say no. And it's not like pitchers are grooving the ball into him, is it? He's hitting balls up and away at 91, 92 miles an hour, and he's doing it. I can't believe it.
It's 1 a week for the rest of the year, Pujols does, to get to 700. David, by the way, welcome to the club. Mark and I both picked against the Florida Gators beating Utah this weekend. Upon dozens of texts and greetings from Gator fans, basically crediting us, for leading the Gators to victory because we picked their opponent. So welcome to the club.
Listen, you don't have to be right every time. You just have to have significant conviction.
There's no doubt about that. All right. With the way the baseball season's closing out, and it seems like the wild card races, because I think, we all think it's going to be a stretch for Tampa. But what if you're Tampa with as banged up as they are? How do you play the rest of the season? Because you've talked about it, how important that 4 seed is, David.
Yeah, for me, I want the 4 seed. And the reason I want it is that first of all, I'm not giving up on the division. Now, I grant you we're 5 games back, but I'm looking at the trends with the Yankees, and I'm in my clubhouse in Tampa. I'm saying, guys, we got robbed. We were about to sweep this team. We've got another crack at it. We need the sweep, but a sweep starts with the first game of the series. So let's go get that. And there's a scenario that we would do where we would put the remaining schedule out and then who we're playing and what we thought we had to do each series and what the team we were chasing, what they had to do each series for the rest of the year. And we would then keep track on a game-to-game basis. I'm not giving up on that division quite yet. Now, I agree it's almost, but it's a lot like, Miracle Max. Almost dead, mostly dead is not fully dead. And that's where I think the Rays are in the division. Now, once you get to the wild card, the way it works now with 3 wild card teams, if you're the worst wild card, you're playing the worst division winner. If you're the second or first wild card, you play each other. And if you're the first wild card, you get to do it at home for all 3 games. And I've seen the Trop come playoff time. It's a different scenario than regular season, right? It is louder. It's closer to sold out, if not sold out. And that's what Tampa needs to play for, should play for, and what I'd be telling my players to play for.
Right now, Tampa and Seattle tied for the 4 seed, and the Jays just a half a game back. So it's a real crapshoot as to the seeding in the American League 4-5. It might be beneficial to be the 6th seed because in theory you then get the worst division winner, but you also avoid the Astros and Dodgers in the 5-game division series.
So when we spent a lot of time on this, it's funny you mentioned that. When you try to choose your opponent that way, it tends to backfire. So we would not want to worsen our position to try to get a different opponent or a different schedule. You want to go in hot, and hot teams in October can beat anybody. It doesn't matter what happened. If the Dodgers win 115 games, they're still 0-0 and have to win 3 out of 5. So with the rotation they have and the injuries they have, so you really don't look at things that way. Same with the Astros, and that's just how teams look at things. I guess I would also mention, when we're talking about September, when the expanded playoffs were announced, the hope was that there'd be more cities engaged because there'd be more playoff races because of the extra team. Take a look at what happened this year and why many of us argued that expanding the playoffs may not have the result that you think. What are the races that you can think of where you're either in or out? The only one I can think of is you've got the Orioles, who could be in at the expense of Seattle, Tampa, or Toronto, or the Brewers, who could be in at the expense of the Padres. There aren't any good are you in or are you out races.
Right.
And that makes it great, right? The Braves Mets, that's a cool race. They're both in the playoffs. The Rays Yankees, that's a cool race, but they're both in the playoffs, most likely.
Yep, no doubt. David, we're running short on time. As always, we thank you for years. Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
David Samson on Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Napa Auto Parts and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, and the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Well, Larry has an entire segment, our longest segment of the show. Don't know what else we can do. We do 20 plus minutes of them every week.
I have to admit, I don't understand. Ugly Bag of Water. You think he's a standard baseball guy? It's actually the appeal that we think David Samson has is that he's so not a traditional baseball guy. Yeah, Larry, unfortunately, we used to have, basically, we used to be able to do whatever we want in terms of the show and the segments and how long we went and what have you. But in order to do a syndicated show, you have to have set out times. Because some stations don't have board ops. You have to set your times and beeps and syndicate them down the line and all that. And so, believe it or not, our third segment of the hour is actually our longest segment by like a minute or so. So we give David our biggest window. And it's about a 15.5-minute window.
Adam, like most homework assignments, I'm not going to do it.
Well, Adam, you got to admit you stepped right into that one. I mean, there was a chance of him doing it 35 years ago, but not a good chance now. Well, but also, Ugly Bag of Water, I think it's David speaking from personal experience. You know, he was in a market in which they would have loved the players. You know, I mean, how many times do you think the organization went to players on the Marlins and wanted to get them to do something with promotional value and was probably told, yeah, man, it's a day off. I'm going to sleep in till noon and go to the beach. His podcast, Llama, is outstanding. It was nominated for like the #1 award in the industry. It was a finalist.
$15 seconds.
Yeah, I was going to say, Sean, you've always blasted Seth and didn't like him, and now you don't like David. They can't be more opposite of one another. That's for certain.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is the 8 o'clock hour of Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Matt Baker talking all things college football. Huge weekends for the Gators and the Noles. Canes were impressive, but they were expected to be. We'll talk some college football in state with Matt Baker at the Tampa Bay Times coming up in about 35 minutes time. Tuesdays at 8 means Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chain, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us twice a week during the season, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. So did you make your picks on your show yesterday?
No, we is still picking the division winners. So yes, I'm making those things. We only got through the AFC. We had so many call reactions to it. It was kind of fun, but it's Labor Day, and the phone lines were jacked up because when you start picking teams, people start having big opinions. And what did I pick? I picked Buffalo to win the East. That's easy. Baltimore to win the North. Indianapolis to win the South. Kansas City to win the North. Jimmy did not see it that way. I took Miami as a wild card. Cincinnati as a wild card. Jimmy thought Cincinnati's going to win 5 games. And the Raiders to be a wild card. I left the Titans out, and I left the Chargers out.
And the Broncos, obviously, as well. I'm guessing, then, did you have the Broncos finishing 4th in that division?
Yes, but I didn't have one. Now, the numbers have to add up. We're not in the business of making sure everyone has a happy record. So, no. But in the West, everyone had a winning record. 11-6 Kansas City, 10-7 for the Raiders, 9-8, 9-8 for the Chargers in Denver. So I see all 4 teams having a winning record. Yeah, they're going to play each other, and maybe they'll all split. But when I looked at all the games against someone not in their division, I see a lot of wins. So all 4 got winning records.
It's maybe the least sexiest division in the league, but if I could just go AFC South for a second, Pat, I'm going down with the Titans ship until the Colts beat them, and they haven't in the standings in 8 years. I'm going down with Tennessee, but the loss of the pass rusher last week, if you're Tennessee and your window here is pretty small with Tannehill and Henry and what have you, do you have to call the Bears for Robert Quinn? Do you got to get in the Sue JPP sweepstakes here? I mean, it's bad enough you got the downgrade with no A.J. Brown anymore. You lost your best pass rusher here. Don't you have to make a move?
Well, why do you think I didn't put him in the playoffs, David? If you can want to make someone to make the move back, I think like the Bears, because we've been talking about Quinn all spring and summer, they probably think we played so well in the preseason. Let's not give up on this season. I think if you didn't make the deal with them before the preseason games, you probably lost your opportunity. That's my thought. There's like some real, I don't want to call it false enthusiasm, but there's a lot of strange enthusiasm in Chicago that they're going to be good. And I don't see it that way, but I think the club does. And more importantly, the fans do. And if you ever sold Robert Quinn right now, that would just put a pin right in their balloon. So I think they feel like they have to keep him.
Okay, then, Pat, if it goes badly the way I think all 3 of us expect it to go for the Bears, is that someone that could be available at a trade deadline?
Yeah. I think then the fans would see it differently. But they are going into this after this preseason. They're kind of, and they're up and down anyway, mostly. But they used to be excited about Mitch Trubisky, and they gave up on him in the opening game, I think, of year 3. So they could be in a reality check by the time the trade deadline comes, Mark. And then it's a different story. But today, then the question really is back to David: is that too late, David, to get Quinn?
It might be. It might be. I will say, I do think the Colts are better this year at this time than they were last year at this time. And listen, it'll come down to the division. The Colts have loused things up in the division if for one other reason they can't beat Jacksonville on the road. I mean, you can't give away a game like that in the standings when you think there's very little separation between you and the Titans. I do wish the Colts had one more wide receiver, though. I don't fear their weapons outside of the tailback at all. We're talking with Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio. Moving the Chains is the show weekday afternoons, and he joins us once again, courtesy of Pinchers. Pat, is the reason that all of us, I think, are afraid to jump off of the Kansas City wagon, is it because of Mahomes? That we all think they're not as good, that they're progressively getting a little worse each year, but number 15 is just too big of an obstacle for anyone else to overcome?
Well, yeah, I think that, and Andy Reid. So I think those are the 2 reasons I still selected him on top. the division, go look at the head coaches. I'm not down on any of them, but when you compare him to Andy, I think you see an advantage, or at least I saw an advantage for the Chiefs. And Mahomes, maybe this has started to fall into the pattern of why the Packers always stayed on top and why we always keep taking them. Because, Rodgers makes that much of a difference. They didn't always have a great roster. They've had kind of big problems with their defense. The defense seems better. And they never drafted a receiver in the first round. So all those years we kept saying, the Packers will win the division. It was because of Rodgers. So I think Mahomes kind of fits the bill, David, for the same rationale. Now, Jimmy did not take him. He took the Raiders to win the division. He's ready to jump off the Kansas City bandwagon, but I would not. I don't think they helped themselves by trading Tyreek Hill, and I think there's an illusion there by the fans, for sure, that they can overcome that. I was on with Larry Fitzgerald yesterday, and I brought that subject up, and he just started to chuckle. He goes, well, they're not really paying attention. That guy changed coverage, and now the amount of pressure on Kelsey over, it's going to, affect them. But Andy Reid, when you look at the head coach in the division, is anyone close to Andy?
No, he's a Hall of Famer.
Right. And we got a guy that loves fourth downs too much. Got a guy that drafted Tebow. There's a lot of things going on there. And they may all be able to become great. I'm pretty excited about the Raiders and where Josh is going to be this time around. But Andy's head and shoulders over these guys, in my mind. And he learned a lot in that championship game. Don't listen to my quarterback when he says, let's go for a touchdown. Just kick the field goal, as we've talked about 100 times. So Andy is going to modify how he thinks. But will he become a run guy? No. He can't, because he sees answers to everything in a passing game.
All right. Pat, we may have buried the lead because you went through your division winners and you went through your playoff teams, and one of them was the Miami Dolphins as a wild card team. What has you confident in their first-year coach to get them to the postseason?
Yeah, and in order to do that, I had to drop New England out. Now they're going to face off pretty early here. So when you look at the roster, and plus I got a chance to watch and scrimmage the Tampa Bay Bucks for 2 days, and I really got a good look at some of the things they do well. Like the secondary, love the inside, too, on the defensive line. They were wreaking havoc on Tampa, which isn't hard to do considering all the replacements they have. I talked to Bowles yesterday about that. We can get to that later. Look, I don't know if Tua's the guy or not. There's a lot of pressure on Tua, but he's got an awful lot of weapons around him. And I like this young head coach. He is a different guy. And the first thing I was told by the guys in San Francisco is, watch how fast the players fall in love with him. And I go, you got to be kidding. He goes, oh, no. He is tremendously strong at relating to players. And I think he's got his team, by the ear. They're listening to him. And I think he's worth a game, probably worth a game. And they were 9-18 last year. I got them for 10-7 in a wild card.
It's a challenging schedule for the Dolphins, and we've got a game circled. And you know what, Pat? You wanted to make sure the wins and losses evened out. Last week when you were on, and we were talking about the Dolphins and the Chargers and the group that we think are going to struggle to make the playoffs in the AFC, Miami's at the LA Chargers in mid-December, and all three of us agreed that could and will likely be winners a wild card, loser stays home.
Yep. I do. I know. When I was looking through this, the wild card teams are always challenging, and especially in the AFC. So it got down to Miami and Cincinnati and Tennessee and the Chargers and maybe Denver. I doubt it, but so yeah, you can't keep them all in. We're not taking 9 teams to the playoffs. And the more I looked at, and really, the thing that impressed me most was how they functioned in Tampa for 2 days. Now, I didn't get a chance to see the Chargers up close and personal like that, so I might be influenced by my ability and luck that I was there for that. But I saw enough in a group, and I like the group of running backs they have. It doesn't mean I don't like the Chargers running backs, but Mike is going to run the ball. And he's going to then throw vertically to Tyreek. And I'll say this about Tua. The one thing he does well, we talked about it 2 weeks ago, is the slant route game, which is old. That is really Bill Walsh offense. He threw slants like crazy to the big guy out there. So I see a little slant game off the play action. I think they can hang around. Now, it could all burst. Since Marino, nothing's really worked for them. But this is the year I'm taking a chance on.
How much of it is at the team speed? I mean, not just Hill, but it seems that with Waddle and the tight ends and even the running backs, this is a fast team, isn't it, Pat?
Yeah, it is. And it's, he's got running backs. They like the outside zone run game. And off that comes the bootleg game. Teron Armstead at left tackle. There's enough to people worry about their offensive line. This is probably a theme I'll get into on Friday. But because I need 2 more days to go through the whole league. But my camp tour and getting ready for these picks, there's not a lot of teams with great offensive lines right now. Some lost them in retirement, injuries, whatever. When I hear guys saying expansion of the league, there's not enough linemen right now. There's too many teams with 8 linemen on their active roster. That's a dangerous number. That means you're going to go to your own practice squad to get your 9th guy when someone gets hurt. And we all know what's going on in Tampa. So teams we like, and we think are going to be playoff teams, some of them are extremely vulnerable in the offensive line.
He is Pat Kirwan, NFL's Moving the Chain, CBS's Today Show, brought to you by Pinchers. Pinchers with locations from Tampa to Naples. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. More with Pat Kirwan coming up on the other side of Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Pat? Hey, Pat, are you there? You there, Pat?
I'm right here. You guys take callers?
No, because we don't have a phone system that allows us to. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to jump in with this if you guys have already talked about it, but so Pat, you have found that when you guys work a holiday, your phones explode because like when Mark and I have done holidays, sometimes, and we haven't done many, but sometimes you have like the best phone response of the year, and sometimes you have crickets.
It's never been crickets for us, but some of the other shows aren't even on. I think that Nick and those guys have looked at those others and they don't even run them. So a lot of times on big holidays, Labor Day, it's not a full schedule, but ours go crazy. And maybe it's because we promote it, and they also believe we never take a holiday off. It's like ridiculous, but we like doing it. Veterans Day, we'll get 1 million veterans calling, and a lot of guys that listen, truckers especially, are off the road and they're home, and they like to call. We got a lot of different guys on holidays, but the phones are lit up all day, and we always pick content. Like yesterday would be a perfect day for you guys to pick all the division winners and stuff, and I think you'd get a lot of calls off that. Anytime you do, who's the best court? Oh, that list crap. They call like crazy on the holidays for that. We also had, David, you'll appreciate this, we also had like 12 reads. Like the advertisers kind of like it too. They don't say, no, don't put us on Labor Day or any of that stuff. We do the 4th of July, we do Memorial Day, Veterans Day. We play music that's theme-oriented to those military days. We did Christmas last year, I think.
Oh, my goodness. Well, and you guys got that trucker crowd, too, which is a whole different animal.
It is a whole different animal. And it's the holidays. They're kind of an interesting group. I would say most of the truckers are off the road, but they call in from home. It's kind of like the only time they ever call when they're sitting in a lounge chair.
I had to laugh because my kid had to work yesterday because he works in the farming world. Like he told my daughter, he's talking to his sister. She goes, plants don't take the day off. They don't get up in the morning and say, we're going to lounge around the pool today.
Yeah.
Crops.
I've worked most holidays, and you guys should too, and it's the way it is. Like in football,
Stop it.
It's not Labor Day. It's Monday of week 1. They don't even know it's a holiday.
Although it's not like I wasn't up at 5 o'clock every day this weekend and couldn't have come done 4 hours. That's the other part of it.
Yeah, well.
That clock, that body clock is on every day.
Mine too. Bad. 5:30. I feel like if I lay in bed, I'm going to be so fucking far behind by the time we get going here that I just better get up and get rolling. Like, I love Mondays now because I have Tuesdays with you guys. Tuesday, 8 o'clock, you guys, 9 o'clock, Bill Cower, every Tuesday, 9 to 10. And then we're going to do something with Devontae Adams, so I got to get all my old Devontae interviews out. And the girl, I don't even know who the girl is that's sitting down with them, but I got to spend an hour with her this morning. Make sure she's ready. I'm glad they never asked me, but I should be doing all these interviews because all I do is tell everyone what to say and what to ask.
15 seconds.
All right, here we go, guys.
Yeah, man. So I forced myself to pick 5 teams that weren't in the playoffs last year. I said I cannot keep doing 2 or 3. It's got to be 5.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, we've already had a news-breaking day with Pat Kirwan. He of NFL Radio's Moving the Chains and part of CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joins us twice a week during the season, courtesy of Pinchers, every Tuesday and Friday at 8 o'clock. Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. And I say news-breaking day because, Pat, I believe in the 15-plus years that we have been doing a show together and that you have been kind enough to come on, whether it was with Mark or myself and now the two of us, I think this is the first time that you picked the Dolphins to go to the playoffs. I really do. I think this is it.
It is it. It was almost didn't come out of my mouth yesterday.
Well,
I wrote it down, had to read it because I couldn't say it just naturally.
And you are not a first-time coach guy as well. So this twofold to me strikes me as different than what you normally do, Pat, because I know there's got to be a couple of first-year coaches that are successful, and every year it seems that one of them gets to the postseason. But why him?
He inherited a good team. That's the first thing. Not a great team, but we all know what happened there. And it was, when Mike Tomlin took over the Steelers, which is a bad example, but it's still my point. My point is, usually these guys are getting jobs with bad football teams. Well, the Dolphins had a good team, and they opened up their money bag and started buying more help. So it's a unique place in that sense. And I sat down with a lot of coaches in the last 12 months, and Mike was one of the guys that impressed me the most. And I didn't think I was going to like it. I go, okay, bring that crazy-looking kid over here. I want to talk to him. And when he sat down, I just couldn't stop talking to him. And I couldn't stop listening to his great answers and his assessment of himself. And then he's got this wild side to him. He's done some funny things. So I started to see what everyone sees, that this guy has a chance. I mean, it was a courageous selection for a team that, and the owner's impatient, but the owner's going to be on vacation for a while. So I just, that and what I saw in Tampa led me to say, now's the time. I hope I'm right, because I waited an awful long time to do this.
Pat, you did also mention in our first segment that you had a talk with Todd Bowles. And just with what he said and what you observed just before the season starts here, and they've got a tough first 4 games, where does he and you think the Bucs are?
Well, he is a veteran head coach. I've known him a long time. He's a patient guy. The players like him. He feels that there's a lot of unity on his team. He feels that they're a tight group. He doesn't think he recognizes issues. There's no doubt. We all know the inside 3 in the offensive line is a gigantic question mark. The unfortunate loss of Kappa and Marpet to start it off, then to lose Stinney and Jensen. He brought Jensen up right away. I think he's going to have some problems with the inside. I love that Brady's now attacking his own guys to appeal to their professional pride, which is what he's doing. And they got to manage the offense. They got to come up with things that are going to take some of the pressure off those guys, because people are going to go after him. He likes his defense quite a bit, and he should. He thinks that Joe Tryon's ready to go. He likes his inside 3. He likes the guys behind him. Nunez Roches was the guy he mentioned. He thought Logan Hall in time would be ready to help out a lot more. So he's a defensive-minded guy, but he is in charge. He was pretty interesting when I brought that up. He said, well, are you talking to Byron about more running? It's a question we'd all ask. And he goes, I don't have to talk to Byron about that. He knows what I want, and if he doesn't do it, I'll do it. So he was pretty much on his game. And he got a chance to watch Gabbert, and he actually talks about Trask even more while Brady was on the 11-dayer. He thinks he's got enough backs to rotate them all through. He likes certain things. I think the way he was talking, that he's going to get a little specific to guys, that Fournette maybe as big as he is, maybe more a receiving guy, even though he has Bernard. So he likes the team, but he recognizes, he's a realist, that they're not maybe walking through this division by any means. He doesn't see it that way. He's not overly confident. He's going to be on with me every week, which is great. He once said to Jim and me, he goes, I like you guys. So yesterday I said, well, this proves you like us because you took a weekly with us. And he goes, you're the lesser of 2 evils. I picked you guys over something else.
That's kind of how we feel. We're lucky with Pat. He picked us over something else too. Pat, when I look at Tampa, and it's for the obvious reasons with Brady, but also with the way they're banged up, is this a lot like a New England team in that we're going to find out who they are in September and not know the finished product yet, that we're going to actually watch this team evolve during the season. And fortunately for Tampa, you can get away with it a little bit more in the NFC this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think we're all watching the exact same thing, the inside pass blocking. Now, we know Brady wants to throw. I mean, what did he throw, 45 times a game last year? I don't think you can keep doing that under the guys without Kappa and Marpet and Jensen inside. They were like one of the best inside three in the league, and none of them are there now. So I think we're all going to watch the same thing. How much inside blitzing are people going to do? Brady can't run the bootleg, so he's not leaving the pocket. And what is he going to do to get the ball? He's got a tremendous group of receivers. And how's he going to get the ball to him? And can he get it to him without just fast pass, which as soon as you think it's all fast pass, they're going to crowd 5 and 6 underneath and just kind of cloud everything up on them and make them pull the ball down, and then the blitz gets there. Or just the power nose tackle. I'm telling you that Hainsey, you put a 340-pound nose tackle on him, he's going to drive him right back to the quarterback. So what is the play calling going to be like to, protect the obvious problem? And I'll just tell you, because we didn't cover the NFC at all yet, but I did not pick them to win the division.
Excuse me?
Whoa.
I picked New Orleans to win the division.
Oh!
Wow. That hasn't gone over NFL radio yet, so look out later today. Boy, if you thought you got phone calls yesterday, wait till today there, big fella.
Well, I was sure glad I got done talking to Todd before I said that.
Well, I like the boldness. And I'll tell you what, if the Saints get anything from their quarterback, they certainly think you're right, based on the fact they're 4-0 in the regular season against Brady and company the last 2 years. Pat, thanks for making time with us. We appreciate it. And next time we talk, the season will have already gotten underway. Huh? How about that?
Yeah. You didn't ask me who I'm taking in that game, thank goodness, because I can't decide. But if you ask me right now, I'd say the Rams, but I don't have to answer that question today.
I'll text you on Thursday to get your final pick.
Thank you. We all have to be on record when the real game starts.
That's right. Thanks, Pat.
Well, I'm taking the Bills. You get that now. Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains. That's weekday afternoons, Afternoon Drive on NFL Radio. And he's part of CBS's NFL Today show, has been for a long time. And Pat joins us courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, many points in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh.
He took the Saints to win the division and has the Miami Dolphins making the postseason. Does one Pat Kirwan along with the Raiders and Cincinnati as wild card teams. He had the Bills. He had Baltimore, he had Kansas City, and he had Indianapolis as the division winners. And he let us in on where he's going in the NFC as he's taken New Orleans to win the NFC South. You can hear Pat every day, NFL Radio, moving the chains from 3 to 7. We will switch from Sundays to Saturdays on the other side as Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times joins us. He's an AP voter, a Heisman voter, and he will join us to talk about the Gators and the Noles next, right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the Chicken Bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
You know, I think I can actually see why Pat took the Saints. The Saints are good.
The Saints roster is a lot better than people think.
Yes.
If Michael Thomas is healthy.
Pair that with Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry. Come on, man.
Along with Kamara.
That's the thing.
Their offensive line's not what it was 2 years ago. They're kind of like the Colts offensive line. It's still good. It used to be great. But also defensively, it's kind of like Green Bay, Felipe. People don't realize Green Bay is probably top 10 defensively. People don't realize the Saints might be top 5 defensively.
Yes. In terms of defense, I know the Bucs have a good defense, but it's pretty even between those two. By the way, the Saints have Andy Dalton.
Yes, they do. For all the crap that Tua has been getting. You know, you could say the same thing about Jameis.
Yeah.
Because the Saints on paper look pretty darn good. And if they get quarterback play, Pat could be right. And,
I still haven't forgotten what Jameis did to the freaking Packers in week 1. He threw 5 touchdowns.
He has his moments. It's the 3 interception games that he's got to stay away from.
Yeah. But what he played.
Remember, he got hurt in week 5 last year.
Mm-hmm.
So, we still don't know. Can he do it? He hasn't played a full season since what? 2018?
2019. That was the infamous 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions year.
Right. He said he was the third stringer in 2020. He played 5 games last year. Yeah, 2019.
He played 7 games last year, and he had 3 interceptions and 14 touchdowns.
I think when he got hurt, they were 5-2. He got hurt in the Bucs game. Yinzer, Cam Newton is not anywhere. I expect Cam to be in the booth next year.
I was going to say, I don't think Cam will be anywhere, honestly.
RG3 does a nice job.
Oh, please tell me you saw that. What he said? No?
I don't know. I watched the whole game. So
okay.
what comment from the Michigan-Colorado State game are you talking about? I didn't see anything that was that crazy that he said.
There was a play where it was a touchdown at the goal line. The running back ran it in, and he called it an orgy in the end zone.
Yeah, because that's what's the guy's name. The guy's name was Orgy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I read that out of context then.
Yeah, you completely right. He did it on purpose. He did it on purpose, but he goes, I'm not even going to try to say that guy's name. Then they go to break, and he goes, it was an orgy in the end zone. It was absolutely phenomenal.
That's okay.
He did a great. He was in the tunnel as Michigan was coming out, and then ran the steps up to the press box. And he goes, and his broadcaster goes, you're not even sweating. And they show him, and he's dripping in sweat. And the guy starts wiping the sweat off of him. I thought he does a nice job. He's very calm. He's not
Do you know what?
I just expect him to be more excitable, and he's very calm when he does a game.
Did you see him do the track and field? for ESPN last month.
No.
He asked to do it, and he did like the U.S. Track and Field Championships.
Gotcha.
He was really good.
He's really calm. If you don't,
yes.
I mean, he has got a really calm. He doesn't get. I expected him to be a little bit of a Romo, where I'm going to get a lot of this razzle dazzle stuff because he played with that, and he just he's the total opposite. Really good. Really enjoy the listen.
Matt Baker is on hold.
Well, that's good, because he's next.
All right, we're coming back.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. It's been a very lively show coming off the 5-day extravaganza that was the beginning of the college football season, the NFL season about to kick off. Baseball pennant races, the excitement from the U.S. Open. Matt Baker experienced some of the excitement. After all, he covers college football in the state of Florida for the Tampa Bay Times. You can follow Matt on Twitter at MBakerTBTimes, MBakerTBTimes. Matt, it's David and Mark once again. Hope you had a good holiday. Thanks for spending your time with us. And listen, I know that you're an unbiased reporter. And you've got 2 important votes, AP Top 25, Heisman. But when you're at something like Saturday, do you even have to catch yourself and looking around with, and you've been there before, you've been big games, but, do you have to catch yourself sometimes and go, damn, this is something?
I'm a human being first, right? Like, yes, I am the executive reporter. I don't care if the Gators win or lose. My paycheck is the same, but I'm a human, and you can't be there with 90,000 people yelling and screaming, listening to Won't Back Down, and not enjoy it. You just can't. And I try whenever I cover a game. This is something I learned pretty young because I had the opportunity to cover some really cool stuff when I was an intern at various places. And it took me too long to remember to enjoy it. I covered the Indy 500 as an intern, a 22-year-old intern at the Indy Star, and I'm from Indiana. And I was too focused on the work to actually sit back and enjoy it. And I realized that later, and that was dumb of me. So now, before every game I cover, every single game, I take a picture with about 10 minutes left just to see the crowd. And then right at the anthem, I kind of look around and just soak in the scene for a couple of seconds and okay, then it's time to work. And as it's going on, yeah, I'm thinking this is a fantastic thing, but I'm also thinking, holy crap, what happens if Florida wins? What happens if Florida loses? What's my story? What's going on here? How do I write a story at the gun when it's going down to the final play? On and on and on and on.
Well, Billy Napier after the game talked about trust, and it seemed to be a big emphasis of his and his trust in Anthony Richardson. And boy, did Richardson deliver. But just to me, the calmness of Napier after the game showed what this Gator team could be, is that you talked about just being a human and getting caught in the moment. He got caught in the moment for about a second with a celebration and then really calmed it down and talked about the work that the team put in. I was impressed from start to finish with the Gator head coach.
I was too. I didn't think the moment would be too big for him because, look, he had coached in championship games at the Sun Belt level and coached as an assistant at big games at Bama and Clemson and what have you. So I didn't think the moment would be too big, but he really, really impressed me just with the scheming and some creativity to kind of get some guys open. And because that was just one of the questions I had. Not saying I didn't think he could do it. I just didn't know if he was good enough to be able to do it at that level. He won at a high level at Louisiana Lafayette, But he did that with a couple different NFL running backs. If you got an NFL running back and an NFL type or a lineman or two, at that level, you're in good shape. So credit to him for getting those guys. But I just didn't know what he would be able to do with them. And on Saturday, he took a Florida team that is talented but not uber talented against a developed, experienced, very good Utah team and found a way to beat them. And I think that's it. I learned a lot about just his abilities as a coach, as an X's and O's game day manager on Saturday. That if I'm a Florida fan, gives me a lot of encouragement going forward.
Well, Matt, I thought he showed with, what was it, about 2 minutes to go, and they're facing 4th and a long 2, and he doesn't rush the play call, and then he realizes, well, you know what, let's let the clock run all the way down and I'll call timeout. And a lot of people, I think, were screaming and yelling, hey, if you don't convert this, those 20 seconds, you might need it on the back end. And it was his way of going, no, we're going to convert this, and I want to leave Utah with as little time as possible. And at the time he was doing that, they were losing. I thought that was a very mature, composed moment where if I'm a Gator fan and I'm like, well, this guy,
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I'm
second guessing it. I the time just because, like I said, they were losing. I didn't think it would work the way it did, but I guess that's a credit to Napier for understanding the situation and believing in find a way to get in there. That's really fired the other way too.
And it worked out obviously very well, be it a great interception at the end of the game. But on the whole, take Richardson out. What was the thing that take Richardson and Napier out from that? From a standpoint of players, was there one thing that impressed you more than the others at the conclusion of that game?
Well, yeah, Anthony Richardson's the obvious one, but if we exclude him, then the defense, because the last couple of years it was not good. It was historically bad in 2020. That's not an exaggeration. It was historically bad. Last year, it was not very good either. I'm thinking of the second half when they got run over by Missouri. I'm thinking of the Georgia game. There were plenty of instances where the defense just wasn't good. South Carolina not being able to stop the counter against LSU. And they got pounded a bit in the second half by Utah, but to everybody. They are big and physical. They will push you around. They will beat you up. And they kind of... Gators defense needed to make a play. It made a couple of them. The goal line stand, what was that, in the third quarter? And then obviously the interception in the fourth. The red zone was the difference in the game because the Gators converted thanks in large part to Anthony Richardson. And the defense did its job too. So that was the thing that jumped out to me is the defense showed.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times, covers the Noles and the Gators college football-wise. Hey, just lastly on the Gators before we switch to the Noles, how well, if at all, health-wise, because we know this was a really physical game. They're going to have another physical one against Kentucky. How did they get out of this one, Matt?
No, we'll get a better update on Wednesday because that's kind of when Napier is going to do the player availability and depth chart and stuff. But a whole lot of players missing time, at least when I watched the game. So I think they came out okay. But like you said, this is one of those situations where Utah is a team that they beat a lot of guys the first week, and they can beat them afterward too, just with literally bruising guys afterwards. So I guess we'll have to see because you're right. Kentucky is a physical team too. That is not going to be a cupcake in week 2.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times, covers college football in the state. You can follow him on Twitter, MBakerTBTimes, MBakerTBTimes. All right. Sunday night, New Orleans, big win. Impressive for 52 minutes. Whew, sweated it out at the end. But what was it that you saw from Florida State, besides the final score, that you think is different and noteworthy?
So a couple things. The big, first of all, offensive creativity that hadn't really been there a whole lot under Norvell so far, which has surprised me, frankly, because when you go back and watch his Memphis team, they were fun. They were exciting on offense. They had big play guys. They found ways to get him open. I mean, Norvell's thing is, I've got an offense built for playmakers, And we saw that Sunday against LSU with just different formations, different jet sweeps and what have you, to get the ball in the hands of his dudes. And it worked to a large degree. The other thing I'd say is, and this is a boring one, but special teams. And I say that because obviously the game was won at the end with the blocked extra point. But there was the muff punt that Florida State recovered, the blocked field goal by Florida State with Jared Verse. And then just in general, Norvell's thing, literally day one, he said the special teams are the backbone of any program. You want to look at the culture of a program, look at how they do on special teams. They practice special teams a ton, more than most programs. So for the first 2 years, FSU special teams were not great, not bad, they were fine, which is not good enough considering how important it is to him. But now you look at it, that was the changing aspect, the changing phase of the game, and a statement win for the program that had been a long time coming. So when I look back on that game, that's going to be the special teams game that maybe shows that the culture has changed and things are really starting to turn around up there in Tallahassee.
And to me, Matt, it was the quarterback not making mistakes. It's just, they've got a pretty nice little quarterback there. I think he can do a fine job, but he didn't turn the ball over, didn't throw any picks. I thought just competent quarterback play was really important for the Noles.
Yeah, that didn't surprise me because I think we've seen that from Jordan Travis a good amount. I think he's at least a good, maybe very good college quarterback. I think he's 7-3 in his last 10 starts. His issue is, there is some decision making, but he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And honestly, I think the guys around him haven't been good enough, particularly at receiver. And if I'm looking for some signs of optimism too, look at some of the plays they got from Deuce Spann. Micah Pittman had a couple big plays, and obviously the big ones from Ontario Wilson. So maybe the receivers are starting to kind of rise up around Travis a little bit, which obviously makes him look better too.
Matt, I thought for the first time, probably since the end of the 2016 season, Jimbo's second to last year, I thought Florida State won a game against a Power 5 school in the trenches. I mean, they weren't amazing, but they were the better team in the trenches. And their offensive line, this may sound ridiculous, but they blocked people, Matt. They have not been able to block people, all right, since Obama was president. I mean, they were blocking a decent front four. And it may sound stupid for me to sound like this, but I mean, Matt, we haven't seen it in a while.
You're right. That doesn't sound stupid because it's been a long time since they had a really good offensive line. Even on 15, when Dalvin Cook was sensational, the offensive line wasn't great. He was sensational because he was Dalvin freaking Cook. So it's been really 14 and 13 when the offensive line was good or higher than that. And yes, the line looks significantly better. That's a credit to some of the development. It's a credit to the way that they brought in some transfers and Jazz and obviously Dylan Gibbons and some of those guys. So we're seeing progress there too, which, look, I did not have a good read on FSU entering this year. I just didn't. But through 2 games, they did what they were supposed to do against Duquesne. They won a game that was down to the wire against an LSU team that, LSU might suck, right? That's a very real possibility. But LSU has talent. They were playing on the road in New Orleans, and they found a way to beat them. Look, the simplest thing I can say about FSU. Second game last year, they lost at home to Jacksonville State. Second game this year, they beat LSU in New Orleans. I'm not saying Florida State's going to win a national championship. They're probably not going to win the division, probably not going to win the ACC. Might end up at a 7-5, 8-4. But considering where they were a year ago, in all phases of the game, all phases of the program, to where they are now, they are significantly, markedly, obviously better. And that's something.
Matt, did they crack your top 25 this week?
No, they did not. My ballot will post later today on TampaBay.com. I thought about it, but look, they beat Duquesne. I'm whoop-de-doo. I'm not throwing a parade for them. And LSU might be bad. I need to see more before I'm ready to put them in. But look, 4 through 25 on my ballot, complete, utter, absolute mess. You could argue it, but I'm not there yet. I need to see a little bit more first.
Matt, thanks for making time for us. Safe travels, and hopefully we can catch up towards the end of the month.
Good deal. Thanks, guys.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. As we mentioned, he's an AP Top 25 voter. He's a Heisman voter, covers the Gators and the Noles extensively. M. Baker TB Times, M. Baker TB Times. You want to follow Matt on Twitter.
And I love Matt because he posts his top 25. He's not afraid to put out there what he does and take criticism for it. And you heard him say there, 4 through 25 right now is a crapshoot. It just is. Everybody knows who the top 3 is. Everything after that, well, that is to be determined.
And that is one of the things that we are looking forward to later today when the polls come out. Will the big 3 in state all be ranked? Miami was the only one preseason ranked. Obviously, they'll stay ranked. We think Florida will jump into the rankings with the win against Utah. But will it be enough to get Florida State ranked? Mark doesn't think so. And he just talked to his first AP Top 25 voter of the day who backs him up.
Who covers the Noles and didn't put him in the top 25. I feel better about that now than I did about any of my picks where I went 1-4 for the week, David.
That's why I thought I'd bring it up. 2 hours ago when I posed the question, you said, I don't think so. Well, you got somebody backing you up who's important, by the way. A lot more important than your co-host when it comes to this particular topic.
What'll be the most interesting thing about the polls is, will the Gators be ranked ahead of Utah this week in the AP poll? That's the one that I'm waiting for.
Boy, let's see. The one was ranked 7th. The one was unranked. It was decided by one play with seconds to go. That's a big – my guess is Utah's ranked ahead of them by 3 spots. It'll drive Gator fans nuts.
And it should drive them nuts. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just worked with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
You
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did you know that since 1994, Rutgers has won as many bowl games as Notre Dame?
Well, I will say they do play in a very different caliber bowl.
And Notre Dame's played in 3 college football playoffs during that time, and none of those are bowl games.
Obviously, but Notre Dame, they lose the big one.
Well, there's no doubt that right now there's a ceiling at Notre Dame. It seems to be that, whether they can get ranked in the top 4 or whatever, it doesn't matter, that really their ceiling is like 8 to 10. They're not better than that. And because their record against like top 10 teams, I think that win against Clemson 2 years ago is like their only win against a top 10 team in 10 plus years.
And even that, they barely squeezed out of that one.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, come on. If you're playing a top 10 team, I mean, but yes, Clemson had a chance to put them away, and Notre Dame had to score, force overtime, backup quarterback, right. It's why Brian Kelly left. Brian Kelly knew where his ceiling was. I mean, he could have stayed at Notre Dame 5-8 more years and produced teams ranked between 6 and 15 every year. But he had no shot to realistically compete for a championship. And obviously at LSU he does. He's going to have to go through a lot of crap first, but but KW, come on. You've seen Florida State in the last 5 years. I mean, at some point you got to be able to block somebody. You can't trick them all day.
Trout hit his 30th last night. It's the 7th time he has 30 home runs in the season.
And he missed a month.
Yep.
Well, Angels fans should enjoy the two of them together.
Yeah, it won't last long.
Nope.
No, Guillermo, they don't. Ever.
It's also partly why I don't think they'll ever join a conference.
15 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton on this Tuesday after Labor Day. We hope you had a great holiday. We know you're back at it, whether it be school, whether it be work, whether it be both. Thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. You miss any part of the show, go to floridasportsnetwork.com, download, and we've got a great fall lineup for you. We've got minimum 2, if not 3, what we think are high-caliber guests Tuesday through Friday, leaving Mondays open to comment about everything that's gone on. And I think we'll have Gary Danielson join us on a semi-regular basis. But Tuesday through Friday, we've got basically 3 guests a show. Usually start in the 7 o'clock hour, then 2 guests in the 8 o'clock hour. We did it again today. David Samson around 7:35. Pat Kirwan at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And we just got done with Matt Baker talking college football. So if you miss any of our interviews, make sure you go to floridasportsnetwork.com and download what you miss.
The text line is 21,000. If you want to text the show, text the keyword FSN radio. You need to do that one time to 21,000. If you haven't done so yet, if you have, then you know the game. You're in and can text as much as you would like. And I appreciate all the text over the weekend thanking me for Florida winning over the weekend. Apparently, all I had to do was pick Utah to ensure the Gators' victory.
Man, you are underpaid. I didn't realize you were this important, had this much power.
I know. Stinks.
You didn't realize it either. Man, is our contract up? Do we have to renegotiate? I think we do. I think we need to show this as evidence when we sit down and go, hey, we're a big deal. No. We can not just affect the outcome. We can determine the outcome of the game. Come on now. You got to re-sign us. Miller and Moulton. Our poll question, by the way, which, during the 5-day extravaganza, that was the start of the college football season. Sorry, week 0. Come on. I mean, it started in Nebraska, Northwestern. That's about it. But during that 5 days, the presidents met and they decided, we're doing this. 12 teams. Probably 2026. Don't know if we can do it sooner. Tell you what, there, conference commissioners and Jack Swarbrick. All right. Now it's time for you guys to decide what it is you want and how quickly you want it. We've decided 12 teams, 2026. Okay. What do you want?
6 automatic qualifiers, home games in the first round.
Are you okay with that, by the way? And it's our poll question. What was first proposed a year ago and was shot down in amongst the conference commissioners, the presidents have said, you know what, we're tired of waiting. All right, we need to move this sport along. So we're going to do it and force you guys to either move it faster or at least agree to get on our train. And that's what the Thursday vote amongst the conference commissioners and Jack Swarbrick, the AD at Notre Dame, is going to be about. But are you okay with this playoff? Because there are things about it that I think people don't like. First off, is 12 too many or too few? Those that didn't want it more than 8, Mark, and those that say, well, if we're going to do this, forget buys. Let's just do 16.
I like the buys. I like a lot about this. I like the buys because it's going to reward the top teams. I like the automatic qualifiers because to me that ensures that we're going to get more September weekends like we just had, David. I think the fact that automatic qualifiers from conferences are in will ensure us down the road that we get more great early season college football weekends. And that's important to me.
I think also, and I think you agree, is it's important for the sport. We've talked about this a lot. Too much is being done, strictly for money, and that we need to get back to rivals and rivalries, playing the games that people want to see. And there was a lot of evidence here in week 1 that some good scheduling really appealed to people.
And good games on campus matter.
Yeah.
It's nice that Florida State and LSU play this game. It's nice that Georgia and Oregon play this game. And it was great that Clemson and Georgia Tech played a conference game in a neutral site field. Games on campus matter. One of the best sporting events I've been to in the last 10 years was the Notre Dame at Georgia on-campus game. There was juice from the moment we got up and really from Friday night all the way through the end of that game. I can't imagine it was any different in Gainesville. In fact, one of the guys that I'm friends with on Facebook is from Utah and was all excited to wear his Utah stuff around the Gator campus on Saturday. That's not the same if the game's in Miami. It's just not.
And Florida State, New Orleans. New Orleans is a great party town, and the Noles invaded it. And we'll see what happens next year when the game's in Orlando. But yeah, why not just play these games in Baton Rouge and Tallahassee? I mean, it's the same highway, for goodness sakes. I mean, it's I-10 west or east. I mean, come on. Let's do this.
I mean, Ohio State, Notre Dame in Columbus.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. And when the home team's jogging off at halftime losing. All right. Okay. It's a different dynamic at home when you're losing versus if that game was played in, I don't know, Indianapolis or whatever. So
not just big early season games, but big early games on campus.
And
I
obviously
think are crucial to this sport.
In the state of North Carolina, there were 3 big ones and record crowds at all 3. And it literally was a historic college football weekend in North Carolina. And I give a lot of credit to North Carolina and NC State for playing along, for being willing to go on the road to App State and East Carolina, respectively. Good for you guys. And you know what? I'm glad you won. All right. I am, because then maybe, just maybe, and fortunately, Mac Brown's a big picture guy. And even after the game, he said, this is great for college football in this state. Kind of like, you know what? We should be doing more of this. And yeah, we could lose, but you know what? There's more to life than winning or losing a college football game. And this was a great damn day. But the playoff, so the first 4 are going to get buys. You're good with buys. Okay, then 5 through 8 are going to get home games. And Mark, they're the only ones that are going to get home games, it looks like. It looks like they're still into the bowl system. And once we get after the first 4 round games at home, then we're going to play bowls. And we all know the 6 bowls, Rose, Cotton, Fiesta, Orange, Sugar, and Peach. The old, whatever they call it now in Atlanta. I mean, those are the 6 quote unquote bowl games that they're going to use, we think, to play their 4 quarterfinals and 2 semifinals every year. And then they're just going to have their Super Bowl, and they're going to pick a location every year and play it. But it's not going to be a bowl. It's just going to be the national championship game. Are you okay with that part of the equation?
Look, I'm sure there are ways if I sat down and wanted to tweak it a little bit. But to me, the most important things were I wanted to see games on campus. I think the idea of particularly teams 5 and 6, they're going to be, in a lot of cases, automatic qualifiers that may end up taking on number 2s from other conferences. But that means that at some point, a Michigan or a Wisconsin is going to have a home playoff game in the elements. And when that happens, that's wonderful for the sport. So I think that was to me, it was a key component of this, of getting games on campus and getting games on northern campuses in inclement weather, or the potential for inclement weather, is fun for me. I think that's a great idea. And as I said before, the fact that it's at 12, I think will spur more good non-conference games earlier in the season, and that's great for college football.
All right. I don't know, and I don't know if you have seen some of the nitty-gritty, and I don't even know if it's out there. But, like we have in the NFL, where you can have a wild card team that has a better record than a division champion.
Right.
And they'll play, and the 9-7 team, as the 4 seed, will host the 12-4 team in the past when they played 16 games. Would you be in favor of that in college football? Because in theory, then what you're doing is your 1 through 6 seeds become conference champions. So in theory, the loser of the SEC championship games no better than a 7 seed, if you know what I mean. I mean, would you see or are you just going to do it based on the final ranking system? And the top 6 conference champions get in, but they are not assured of the top 6 seeds at all. I mean, in theory, you could have 2 or 3 conference champions playing road games in the first round.
I would like to reward conference champions with seeds 1 through 6. I would personally. I have no problem when a wild card team goes to take on a division winner and they've got a better record. That doesn't bother me. I like the incentivizing teams to win their division. That wouldn't bother me a bit.
Okay. Because think of some of the spectacular matchups, quite frankly, Mark, we could get. I mean, we could get a second place team from a Big Ten or an ACC that's seeded. Then if you see the top 6 as conference champions, I mean, the 9 and 10 seeds in the tournament could be pretty damn high profile programs. I mean, you could have Michigan, you could have Clemson, you could have Miami, you could have a USC, in which they might have to go play a Coastal Carolina on the road, if you know what I mean. If you're gonna give the conference champions the top 6 seeds, which my guess is they won't do.
I don't think they will either, because that means a group of 5 team would have a home game, and that ain't going to happen.
And it could be 2 group of 5 teams. That's the other thing. There's no guarantee. You know, we had a year, what was it, just a couple years ago, in which we had 2 group of 5 teams who had better final regular season rankings than 2 of the Power 5 conference champions were.
So, no, I don't think they'll ever do the conference champions 1 through 6, just because of the reasons that we talked about. There's no way they're going to award a group of 5 team a home game in a 30,000 seat stadium taking on a big boy. It's just not going to happen.
God, it'd be great. USC at Myrtle Beach playing Coastal Carolina. Come on.
But UCF in the Big 12 now, that's a whole different scenario.
That's right, baby. That's right. You're UCF.
Going up UCF, you could have a big boy coming to you.
Who knows? Maybe even the right 12-1 season, you might get a top 8 seed. You might get a home game. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost clubhead speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bike, motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Bring your big mouth to John Smith Subs and indulge in their overstuffed subs with the freshest quality ingredients. Enjoy our famous steak bomb with perfectly grilled marinated sirloin steak topped with provolone cheese, grilled onions, peppers, mushrooms, crispy bacon, juicy tomatoes, and creamy mayo. Boom! Made-to-order crispy fries can be paired with the Gator, the Cuban, the chicken bomb, or the Italian. Love local. Eat delicious with John Smith Subs. Find a John Smith Subs location near you today. You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah, and that'll be at 9:31.
It's 4 degrees in here.
Is it really? That's so disappointing. Taking the plunge on the orange whip, huh?
Mark, I have a quick question, just because I know you play pickleball.
No, I don't.
You don't? I thought you said you play pickleball.
No.
You should play.
I'm good.
It's fun. I feel about 25 years older when I play, but it's fun.
There you go.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Jets still have Joe Flacco, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's likely to start against Baltimore Sunday.
One minute. But see, Johnny Mac, it's doable for you older folk because it's like a slower tennis. It's like giant ping pong. That's how I see it. $15 seconds.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when, along with our final thoughts, all coming up in 20 minutes time. Bud Elliott off to a hot, flaming, smoking hot start on his college football picks. And those picks, ladies and gentlemen, are not necessarily for entertainment purposes only, if you catch our drift. He will join us 7:30 tomorrow. Seth Everett also scheduled to join us tomorrow as well. Hot, as Dan Patrick would say, fuego. Killing it.
He's had a couple of good years in a row.
Yes, he has.
And he bets a lot of games.
Yes, and he makes them very public. There's no secrecy here. It's very easy to add up how he's doing. So
did you get an hour to have a meal in San Diego, or was it just a complete business trip? I know you
27 hours is the amount of 28, maybe the amount of time I spent in San Diego. Yeah, it was a complete business trip. I didn't realize that basically they built their brand new stadium, and San Diego State is in all likelihood going to be in the new Pac-12. I mean, that was the big topic of conversation out there, Mark, was what was going to happen to the Pac-12. Were they just going to have to replace the two Southern California schools, or is this going to be a bit of an exodus? And how big? Does it stop at Oregon and Washington? Mark, quite frankly, if you're the Arizona schools, if Oregon and Washington also leave and you're the Arizona schools, are you interested in staying in the reconfigured Pac-12, or would you call up the Big 12 and say, hey, got any room?
That, to me, is the $1 million question, because I'm trying to figure out what the difference is for the Arizona schools going to a Big 12 with the additions they have and not a lot there, or staying in the Pac-12 where they might be two of the better schools if Washington and Oregon leave. I mean, I think first glance, David, I would stay if I were the Arizona schools and try to dominate that conference as best I could.
I agree with you for this reason. There are some, and maybe this is wishful thinking, but you're quote unquote Big Ten guy. All right. USC, UCLA leaving the Pac-12. You think this is going to help them besides financially? Like recruiting wise? Believe me, the Arizona schools, San Diego State, okay, they all think they are going to take advantage of USC and UCLA leaving, that they're going to invade Southern California and say, come on, guys, you want to play your home games. You want to play your games here. Do you really want to be playing games in Lincoln, Nebraska? Piscataway, New Jersey? I mean, seriously?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think that, but I do think that the fallout of those two schools leaving, that Arizona and Arizona State could dominate California, and Cal and Stanford wouldn't be getting the players that they were, that's where I think the advantage is. Because I think, first off, we both think USC is a national brand. What UCLA does is going to be up to them. USC doesn't matter what conference. They could be independent. They could be in the Pac-12. They could be in the Big Ten. They could be in the SEC for all I care. If they have their act together, they're going to get players.
So that was the dominant talk out there. The other thing that was just very apparent, San Diego State had visions that they were going to be UCF of a few years ago, that they were going to be Cincinnati. They went 12-2 last year. They brought a ton of people back, and they upgraded at the quarterback position. I mean, San Diego State had a game with, is it Utah coming up in a couple of weeks, in which they were thinking, well, we beat Arizona last year. We're going to beat them this year. And then we basically have a game week 3 that if we win it, we're going to run the table and we're going to get in the playoff. I mean, that's what San Diego State was thinking at 3:00 Eastern on Saturday, to tell you how quickly dreams can die. And what is widely apparent, more so than ever before, and we all need to remember this, and that includes the hosts of sports talk radio shows. And it may sound ridiculous, but wow, what a difference a quarterback can make. Arizona won one game last year. In fact, they've won one game in the last 2 years total. They got a quarterback in the transfer portal, and they're a completely different team. And ask a Gator fan after Saturday night what a quarterback can do versus when you don't have one. Wow. It's staggering, Mark, with the rules today and the receivers in space and the whole deal. Wow, is it different when you got one versus when you don't?
And it also matters how you treat them. Because if you looked at Richardson's comments after the game, And Napier looked at him and said, we're going to win this game, leading to the game-winning drive. Richardson said, I never heard that before. It's not just how the quarterback plays, but it's how the quarterback is coached. And the trust that Napier had in his quarterback on Saturday evening showed. And Richardson talked about it after the game. So it's twofold because they're fine. Because David, Arizona found a quarterback that obviously someone didn't trust enough to play in that system wherever he transferred from. And he goes to Arizona and can play.
Well, and I think it was a kid from Washington State who, just like many, coaching change, this, that, and the other thing, and he decides, I'm going to go here. Kids are free agents nowadays. They can make decisions like that. They can play at 3 schools in 3 years. And this kid just decided, I'm going to go to Arizona. Now, granted, they brought in 30, 40 new guys. But, the guys he's throwing to are pretty similar to the guys who were getting thrown to last year. And by pretty similar, I mean identical. Okay? And they're a completely different team. Completely. Because that kid can play. Did you also hear what Richardson said afterwards, Mark, in which he actually took a couple moments and looked around and just took it all in and was like, got to admit, never directed a game-winning drive in front of 90,000 people before when you can't even hear yourself think. And he goes, kind of cool.
and David, it's awesome. But I don't know if he can take that moment and look around if his head coach before the drive doesn't say, we're going to win this game. Think of the calm that he put in his quarterback before that drive. Not you've got to do this and that. We're going to win this game. Matter of factly. Instill the confidence. And Napier said it after the game, how much trust the whole team had in what they were trying to accomplish. Such a great win for the Florida Gators. Fooled me. Didn't see it coming.
Nope. I thought they'd get worn down. And listen, their defensive front, they were pretty spent by the end. Utah, their 2 final drives, one, they ran it down their throat, and the second one, that quarterback had a lot of time that whole drive. He didn't throw that pick because of a pass rush. He threw that pick because of a great defensive play and him making a bad decision.
And maybe his tight end got tackled.
Well, he did. Tough to get that call final 20 seconds on the road.
Damn right. You're damn right. That's called good defense on one of those plays right there. Tackle everybody and let the refs sort it out, boys. We'll figure it out from there.
And besides, it's only half the distance. We'll stop. They don't have any timeouts. They can't run it.
Great wins by the Florida programs over the weekend. Getting the Florida Gator faithful, pumping their chest out just a little bit this morning, and deservedly so. And the same thing with the Noles and the Canes. Congratulations to all. We are Miller and Moulton, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when what's on tap to finish it off on a Monday. Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN play of the day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the play of the day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka play of the day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka play of the day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. golfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. FLGolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, FLGolfcarts.com. FLGolfcarts.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Should have been 2 minutes ago. Go now. Just go and close the door. There were a lot of guys who were seen throwing up this weekend in college football, having to play all those snaps. And, oh, yeah. Fam, here's the thing about Boise State. Those Pac-12 teams do not want any part of Boise State. It's not a market. Boise's got that much of a brand to really add to the conference. They may end up with them. And believe it or not, the people we were talking to, Fresno State may have more oomph than Boise State. I forget who it was who mentioned something about San Diego State. And Mark, we've talked about this off and on for a couple of years. The whole road team in white, home team in dark. Yeah, it was 100 degrees out in San Diego, and it was a 12:30 local kick. And San Diego State's out there in black unis. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the dumbest thing going. And there's Arizona State in all whites with red and blue trim. And it was hot, I'm from Florida, and I could tell you now it wasn't suffocating Florida, but it was hot. It was warm. And for those guys who are used to 82 and no humidity all the time, and it was 100 and muggy.
Oh, it was muggy too?
It was muggy. It wasn't Florida muggy. It wasn't even Jersey muggy, but for them, it was a little muggy. The locals were dying. Everybody we talked to was like, oh, my God, this is record heat. And Mark, it was the first 10 minutes of the newscast. Oh, my goodness. Florida newscast would have looked at the San Diego newscast and said, wow, you guys are going with a lot of weather.
David, I didn't look this up, but today I should have, and I just noticed it. Today in 46, the All-American Football Conference begins regular season play as the Browns beat the Miami Seahawks 44-0.
Oh, I got to look that up. Miami Seahawks.
Miami Seahawks, All-American Football Conference 46. Because there's not a lot that happened today. A lot of tennis. Yippee.
That was it, by the way. They played 1 year in Miami. They relocated to Baltimore.
Did they become the Colts?
I'm looking it up. They went 3-11. Finished last out of 4 teams in the Eastern Division. Yes, they became the Baltimore Colts. Holy blank. Holy blank. And they were worse. They went 2-11-1 the first year in Baltimore. Huh.
Patriots are traveling to Miami today.
Wonder if that's to get used to the heat.
I mean, Mike Greeny's calling it, so it's got to be right.
Sorry. 15 seconds.
Chance to show the old GM falling down on the punt.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Bud Elliott, Seth Everett, joining us on the show tomorrow. We're 2 days away from the Bills and the Rams kicking off the NFL season, ladies and gentlemen. Huh? After the 5-day extravaganza, how many of you made fun of us, and particularly me, calling it an extravaganza?
I know I did. Oh, sorry.
And was it an extravaganza? Yeah, damn right it was. I would have had a different closing act, got to admit, if I was in charge of the concert. All right, the 5 days, I thought the promoter did a really good job, days 1 through 4. All right, day 5, I would have ended it differently. Got to be honest.
You know, Georgia Tech would have as well.
I mean, what is the musical equivalent of Clemson, Georgia Tech?
Well, it was that Woodstock, the Woodstock 99 documentary that I'm watching.
Right.
Because Limp Bizkit played. Well, they played Friday night, and it was this epic show with the break stuff, and people went nuts, and they didn't calm the set down. And Bush actually finished and kind of calmed it down. So it's kind of like Bush to Limp Bizkit, and that you needed something to just let everybody get to their cars and get home, because we had them at such a fevered pitch that we don't know if we could let them leave that way after Florida State and LSU, if you know what I mean.
Okay. All right. That's one way to look at it. All right. And that's kind of our easy listening music for your ride home. Got it.
It was Corn to Bush. I'm sorry, not Limp Bizkit. That was, excuse me for my 90s rock recollection having that backwards. But either way, it was the very hard to a little bit softer.
Right.
Just a little bit softer.
That was definitely the case last night. There's no doubt about it.
But it gave us a game into the mid-third quarter.
Yeah. Got you to past 10 o'clock, right? Can't ask for much more than that from a 23-point spread. I mean, goodness. Lee Sterling did get it right. It was his game of the week. So that was pretty much the highlight of our Friday picks between Miller Moulton and Lee Sterling.
That stunk.
Man. Lee went 2-3. I went 2-5. Mark went 1-4. So good thing Bud Elliott's coming on tomorrow.
Copy and paste for Friday is looking like what it's going to have to be. Holy Toledo.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
Don't get me started. All right. Meghan and Harry and William and Kate aren't talking to them. They're a half mile across the way from each other. You know, apparently the Queen's not even going to meet with them. They're all scared about the new book coming out. Don't get me started.
Yeah. What he said. We start in 1916 today when the first true supermarket, the Piggly Wiggly, is opened by Clarence Saunders in Memphis, Tennessee. 1920, Jack Dempsey KO's Billy Miskey in 3 for the heavyweight title. It was the first time a prize fight was broadcast on radio. Today in 1946, we had to investigate this one during the break. The All-American Football Conference begins regular season play as the Cleveland Browns beat the Miami Seahawks 44-0 before over 60,000 at Cleveland's Municipal Stadium.
The Miami Seahawks.
Wow.
Their logo was basically an eagle. Okay, gripping a football, with its 2, feet there and its hooks and their wings, fully out. I know it wasn't an eagle, but it looks damn close enough. But that's their logo. T-shirts available online for $20, by the way.
They would end up being the Baltimore Colts.
How about
they would
that?
move after 1 year to Baltimore. They would go 3-11 in their first year in the All-American Football Conference. They would move to Baltimore and become the Colts.
So from mighty talons to smooth hooves.
Or at least shoot. However you look at it.
Yeah.
Today in 53, Roy Campanella sets a record for home runs for a catcher at 38. Today in 75, Chrissy wins her first of 6 singles titles on the same day that Martina asked for political asylum in New York City during the Open.
That was a huge story for the time. Huge.
This one's really for you, David, and for all baseball junkies. Today in 1977, the Angels acquired Dave Kingman from the Padres for cash. 9 days later, the Yankees buy Kingman, who started the season with the Mets, which means Dave Kingman will have played in all 4 divisions in 1977.
And he was disliked on all 4 teams.
You know why? Too many swing and misses. He'd have been great in today's game.
He also just wasn't a happy guy. Kingman, look it up. First off, he hit like nearly 450 homers. His final year in Major League Baseball, he hit 30-plus home runs. And nobody offered him a contract the next year. He was in like his mid-30s. I mean, it's not that he couldn't play anymore. It's just that nobody liked him.
86, Martina wins her 3rd U.S. Open. 95, Cal Ripken Day. Breaks Gehrig's record today, 21-31. A year later, Eddie Murray for Baltimore would hit his 500th career home run. 97, Martina Hingis beats Venus in straight sets for the U.S. Open title. And in 2008, Serena gets her 3rd U.S. Open title. Born today, no longer with us, Joe Kennedy, big in bootlegging.
Yes. And in family political dynasties.
And Dolores O'Riordan, she was the lead singer of the Cranberries. It passed a couple of years ago. Those that are still with us, Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, 79. Jane Curtin from SNL is 75. Jeff Foxworthy is 67. Kevin Willis is 60, the big man. Eric Zier, the former Georgia quarterback, is 50. And Felipe's favorite guard, John Wall, is 32 today.
Oh, yeah. Redemption season coming with the Clippers.
Can we go back to Jane Curtin? Just for one final Jane, you ignorant slut.
Yeah, I don't think that would have gone over nearly as well now as it did during the 70s.
No. Things you could get away in the mid-70s at midnight. Yes.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I think anybody that listens to this show knows I'm not much of a country music guy. There are certain country artists that I have the utmost respect for, but it's not my thing. Luke Combs moving up to the high spot on my country artist list. He played a concert Saturday in Bangor, Maine. Apparently his voice was shot and he didn't feel like he gave a full performance. So he announced that he was still going to perform, but because of the condition of his voice, he couldn't put on a real show. So he refunded all the tickets to everybody in the audience. That's amazing.
That is awesome.
It really is.
Good for him.
Now I hope he goes back and plays another concert there when he's fully up to it. For the bad, we go to Tallahassee, where a man was sentenced to 9 years in federal prison after defrauding more than 30 women of over $1.3 million by pretending to be a doctor on online dating services. Brian Wedgeworth used 10 different aliases and was able to get women to send him money, jewelry, watches, and other items by saying he was a doctor. Now, not to say any of these women were gullible and that they should never be taken advantage of, but at what point do you keep giving the doctor money?
Would like to think at some point it would have at least brought about some pause, Mark.
Finally, an all-time ugly, and we may want to warn the kids in the car.
Uh-oh. 1 1,000, 2 1,000. Okay.
We go to Vegas, where all of this caught on camera, and thank you, TMZ, for your wonderful work. A man was caught on camera stealing a magician's costume in the dressing room of a comedy club. But it wasn't the pair of pants, T-shirts, and hat that he stole from the show's headlining act, Murray the Magician. It's the act that he performed after the theft. He noticed that the dressing room was empty, and there was a couch there. So he decided to pleasure himself on the couch after stealing the magician's outfit.
Come on.
No word on whether he finished and on where any of the magician's items are, or if he made everything disappear. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, September the 6th, 2022.
Yeah, you must have thought that invisible spell didn't wear off yet or something like that.
It's a tough transition to 15 baseball games today. Really is. It give me a lot to work
out
with
the
here.
first pitch, David.
TBS tonight, very funny. Twins at Yankees. Don't know why they'd show that game. Yankees are going to win. They're playing the Twins. I mean, it's a rule that was passed by the commissioner's office about 18 years ago. Yankees are not allowed to lose to the Twins. Just ask a Twins fan.
It's like the Saints in the books.
It's worse. It's remarkable considering how many times a year they play. But Yankees hosting the Twins. Judge has hit homers in 3 straight games. He's at 54. Oh, by the way. Pirates have an 8-game home losing streak. Worth throwing a few shekels on them tonight? It's tough to lose 9 in a row at home, isn't it?
No, it's not worth putting any money on. They're playing the Mets. The Mets are in first place. Would you quit this? Would you just quit it and try to win the division instead of being such a pessimist over there?
It had nothing to do with the Mets. It's just the law of averages. I mean, it's tough in Major League. If you're a bad team, you lose 2 out of 3. I mean, they've lost 8 straight home games. That's unusual. That's all. So otherwise, I don't know.
They're 49 and 84.
Right. It's just they're not good. But think about that. That's losing like 3 out of every 5 home games, period. 8 straight home games. I don't know. I might throw a few shekels on them tonight to not lose 9 in a row. That's all I'm saying. Marlins are in Philly to face the Phillies. They're battling for a playoff spot. And if you're still hoping that the Orioles, can make a run here, they got today and tomorrow against the Jays that are absolute must wins because they're 4.5 back now in the chase. Rays hosting the Red Sox. 2 more big games before they head to the Bronx for their final 3 against the Yankees. And as we just mentioned, pressure on the Rays to beat the Red Sox because none of us think the Yankees are going to lose games to the Twins. So they need to stay at least 5 back.
This is going to be a tough period for the Rays. They had to get yesterday. The schedule doesn't line up all that well for them. And who knows what happens if that's called a ball like it should have been. But neither here nor there. You look at what the Rays have going. To me, it's really tough sledding for the Rays because, they'd have to sweep the Yanks, but they still have a boatload of games with the Blue Jays. They got a series with the Astros left. It's just not easy to me for the Rays with what's on their schedule versus what's on the Yankee schedule the rest of the way. I think they had to have yesterday's game to do it.
Coco Gauff playing at 7:00 tonight, trying to reach the U.S. Open semis. Nick Kyrgios plays the match after that at Arthur Ashe Stadium, trying to reach the U.S. Open semis. So there. No Rafa. He was ousted. No Williams sisters. This is the first time, by the way, none of the big 3 on the men's side and neither Williams sisters through to the quarterfinals since the 2003 U.S. Open. That's noteworthy because that's the last time an American male won a Grand Slam. That was Roddick's lone major, the 2003 U.S. Open, where the field got blown up. And he took advantage of it. Could it mean that the 24-year-old American, Frances Tiafoe, Maybe. Takes advantage of it. We'll see. So baseball and tennis tonight. You got 2 days to catch your breath with football.
And then it's on. Then we won't have but 2 days off. We'll have Tuesdays and Wednesdays. After this week, this is it. This is yesterday we had a Clemson game in there. So yeah, we have Tuesdays and Wednesdays off between now and forever with no football.
No more of these fake football Fridays. Real football Fridays.
Although it was on this past Friday.
That is true. But consistency now.
What is that you mentioned? The Patriots are flying to Miami?
Patriots are flying to Miami today to begin their practice and get ready for the week games and play a little practice in the humidity.
It's not the worst idea in the world. I mean, a September 11th game in Miami? Whew. Damn. It's not the worst idea.
No, it's really not, because you've talked about this. I mean, you've said since the schedule came out, this is a must-win for the Dolphins.
Absolutely. Absolutely. First off, it's the first time in over 20 years that they're actually viewed as the better team and that they have the better roster than the Patriots. I mean, you literally have to go back to Belichick's first year, maybe his second year when they ended up winning the Super Bowl. But going into that season, nobody thought that they were that kind of a team. So it's 20 years. You're the better team with the better roster. You beat them twice last year. All right. It's a must win for the Dolphins.
Going to get it done in the AFC. Doesn't seem like a loss to New England at home is the way to get things started. Seth Everett on the show tomorrow. Bud Elliott on the show tomorrow. If you missed any part of this show, go to floridasportsnetwork.com to download what you missed. We'll do it all over again tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?